Chapter 338. This peach blossom luck is really a punishment. Under 1. Phew, looks like everything should be all right now. Atop the mountain, Lu Chongqing opened his eyes, exhaling lightly as the 2 middle-grade spirit stones in his hand turned to powder. He had stayed on this mountain for over half a month. Besides a few wild beasts coming to offer themselves as meals, no one had searched for him at all. So Lu Chongqing was also preparing to return. After all, if they really had the means, half a month was more than enough time to find him. The fact that no one came for so long also indicated that there was no trouble. Stepping out of the cave, Lu Chongqing released the iron feather eagle, ready to take off, when he saw flames reaching towards the sky from a small mountain village at the base of the mountain. What's happened there, bandits? Lu Chongqing's brows furrowed slightly as he looked carefully and faintly heard cries and screams. Seeing this, he put the iron feather eagle back into the spiritual pet bag and turned into a streak of escape light to check the situation. Although he wasn't someone who would normally intervene in others' affairs, this looked to be a raid by bandits, wielding torches and looting. He had heard about such things in his youth, before his memories were awakened. Now that he had come across it, he would lend a hand where he could. After all, to be human is to have basic morals. You don't spend years cultivating to become an immortal, only to look down on others, indifferent to the plight and death of ordinary people. Swoosh! Lu Chongqing became a beam of light speeding toward the village. Before he even got close, he saw a group of bandits dressed in black and riding on horses, slaughtering the villagers as cries and screams pierced the air. It's the horse bandits. Lu Chongqing's expression turned severe. Horse bandits were even more despicable than ordinary robbers and bandits. They had horses, coming and going without a trace. Thus, while normal bandits would just raid nearby villages and then leave, it was a long-term infestation. But when horse bandits raided, it completely depended on their mood. Massacring entire villages was a common occurrence. Bold thieves, wantonly taking lives, meet your end. Lu Chongqing shouted from the sky. With the enhancement of his mana, his voice roared like thunder, resonating through the entire village. Not good, it's an immortal. Everyone retreat quickly. A tall and muscular man with an ominous presence, wielding a 9-ring saber in one eye, heard the deafening voice and immediately panicked, his soul almost flying out of his body as he shouted loudly. However, before he had finished speaking, he saw a stark white flying sword coming straight at him. The next moment, pooh! A head soared up as blood sprayed. The other marauding bandits also became terrified upon hearing this command. Their faces filled with horror, they ran like dogs that had lost their homes. An immortal! It's an immortal! It's an immortal! I heard from Grandpa about legends of immortals who could fly with the wind. The immortal has come to save us. Woo-woo, immortal, save us! The remaining villagers, hearing the shout, felt as if they had grasped a lifeline while drowning. They looked up at Lu Chongqing in the sky, calling out loudly in prayer, kneeling and bowing. Pooh! 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 Lu Chongqing, dressed in his magical robe flapping in the wind, stood aloft in the air. His expression emotionless as the stark white flying sword, like a wandering dragon, unleashed its sword chi in sweeping slashes, killing one bandit after another. The bandits who had been arrogantly slaughtering the villagers were like chickens and ducks awaiting slaughter under Lu Chongqing's flying sword, falling dead immediately upon being struck by the sword chi. We Blood Cloud bandits were ignorant, unaware an immortal was passing by, and we wished to leave now. Please, immortal, have mercy on us. Immortal, spare our lives. Spare us. The bandits knew that they couldn't resist someone with the capabilities of an immortal like Lu Chongqing, and they begged loudly for their lives. But Lu Chongqing showed no trace of compassion. If he hadn't happened to pass by today, the Blood Cloud bandits would have killed who knows how many people. At the very least, this village would not have been spared. The other villagers watching Lu Chongqing slaying the bandits felt a surge of relief, but also couldn't help feeling terrified and their scalps numbed. Though the bandits deserved to die, Lu Chongqing, with his indifferent expression and impassive demeanor, sword rising and falling like mowing grass, killing bandit after bandit, left them deeply shocked. They felt both respect and fear for this immortal. Shortly after, Lu Chongqing had slain dozens of bandits. Looking at the flames burning in the village, he flicked his hand. Suddenly, mana spread from him like a hurricane, extinguishing the blazing flames. Then he helped some of the injured villagers, providing healing. Thank you, immortal, thank you. Thank you, Immortal. I will forever owe a life debt for your kindness. Thank you, Immortal. I'll install an altar in my home to pray for your safety. The villagers kneeled and thanked Lu Chongqing in succession. They knew their own limitations. They knew they couldn't possibly help Lu Chongqing. So they could only express their gratitude in this simplest of ways. Sigh. Lu Chongqing looked at the many burned-down huts and dead bodies, and he let out a sigh. Even after so many years of cultivation and numerous experiences, his heart had grown much more indifferent than at first. But faced with such a scene, he couldn't help but feel a heavy weight in his heart. No matter whether it's the cultivation world or the secular world, those at the bottom always seem to have the hardest lives. It made him feel fortunate that he had encountered the chance to cultivate and reach this stage. Just as Lu Chongqing finished aiding people and was about to leave, he noticed a little girl among the crowd kneeling before him. The girl looked to be about 10 years old. Her face was somewhat dirty, wearing ragged gray linen clothes. Yet from such a small girl, Lu Chongqing felt an odd allure. This inexplicable sensation caused Lu Chongqing to pause. As a man who had been through countless battles and seen all there is to see, Lu Chongqing was quite confident about his ability to resist temptation when it came to the fairer sex. Chapter 339. This peach blossom luck is really a punishment. He absolutely didn't believe he could have inexplicable thoughts about a little girl. Especially such a dirty little girl. This little girl has a problem. Lu Chongqing scrutinized the little girl carefully. He immediately found, beneath the girl's tattered gray hemp clothes, on her neck and wrists, there were white scales resembling those of fish or snakes. A half-demon? Seeing these scales, Lu Chongqing raised an eyebrow. But he didn't sense any demonic energy from the little girl. He employed his spiritual eye technique, looking at the little girl. He saw a faint spiritual energy swirling around her, indicating she possessed a spiritual root. There's a problem. Definitely a problem. At this moment, Lu Chongqing became even more aware of the issue with the little girl. He had recently achieved foundation establishment, shedding his mortal shell, and his spiritual perception and senses had all improved. Even without using the spiritual eye technique, he could tell whether a person had a spiritual root or not. Yet he hadn't noticed the spiritual root in the little girl before. It was only after using the spiritual eye technique that he saw the spiritual root in the little girl. Could it be some special constitution? Lu Chongqing scrutinized the little girl, thinking to himself. The little girl seemed to sense that Lu Chongqing was looking at her, and fearfully shrank her petite body. Immortal, it must surely be this monster that brought the bandits. A villager who saw Lu Chongqing examining the little girl immediately spoke out. That's right, she's a disaster star. It's this monster that nearly doomed our village. We implore you, Immortal, to eliminate this monster. Soon, several more villagers spoke out. The little girl, upon hearing these words, immediately began to tremble with fright, her eyes brimming with tears. Little girl, don't cry, don't cry. A nearby old woman with gray hair and dressed in gray hemp clothes immediately hugged the little girl to comfort her. Granny Zhao, this monster is a disaster star, and since you adopted it, that's why your son and daughter-in-law never return from their work outside. Another villager spoke out. This statement instantly caused the old woman to stiffen. What's the matter with this little girl? Lu Chongqing raised his hand slightly and asked in a mild tone. He saw that the little girl was problematic. But he could not see exactly what the issue was. Now he heard the words of the people. It seemed that the villagers had long known that there was something wrong with the little girl. Reporting to the Immortal, this monster was originally Suer's daughter. Suer used to be a famous hunter in our village, but ever since the birth of this monster, his life became miserable. First, his wife died in childbirth while delivering their second child. Both the mother and child perished. After a few years, Suer himself never returned from a hunting trip in the mountains. Granny Zhao, out of pity, adopted her, but when she was 7 or 8, she started growing scales on her body, just like snake scales. If that's not a monster, then what is? Moreover, after Granny Zhao adopted this monster, her son and his wife went to the city to work and they too have not returned. Now that our village was doing well, it suffered a bandit attack, which must surely be caused by this disaster star. A few villagers said, "Disaster star, monster." As for a monster, Lu Chongqing couldn't deny it. After all, The girl's condition was indeed strange. But regarding the disaster star, he did not agree. In this era, especially for poor families, childbirth was fraught with great risk. And hunting in the mountains or working far from home also came with their own dangers. "What's your name? Would you like to leave with me?" Lu Chongqing asked the little girl, his tone gentle. He saw that the girl was extraordinary, problematic. Since this village couldn't accommodate her, he thought it best to take her away and care for her. And see exactly what the situation with this little girl was. Whether she possessed some special constitution, or something else. The little girl, hearing Lu Changsheng's words, was slightly taken aback. She felt a warmth and peace from the young man that she had never experienced before. It was a kind of aura and feeling, like a spring breeze, making her subconsciously drawn to him, feeling a sense of goodwill. She didn't answer. She just timidly looked at the granny by her side. "Immortal, the child is very well behaved, not a monster," Granny Zhao, thinking that Lu Chongqing was about to exorcise a demon, cautiously said. She certainly knew that there was something wrong with the little girl. But after so many years together, she had long considered the little girl her own granddaughter. Not only was she obedient and well-behaved, but she also took the initiative to do farm work, laundry, and cooking. Usually, when she was wronged or bullied by other children, she would hold it in secretly and not tell anyone, which broke Granny Zhao's heart. As for her son and daughter-in-law's situation, although it was painful for her, every year some villagers followed trade caravans to work outside, and never returned. So it wasn't entirely fair to blame the child. I saw that this child has a connection with the immortals, so I thought about taking her away," Lu Chongqing chuckled and said. "Connection with the immortals? What, this girl actually has a connection with the immortals?" "Immortal, could you have made a mistake?" The other villagers, upon hearing this, exclaimed with envy. "Girl, quickly accept the immortals' offer." Upon hearing Lu Chongqing say the little girl had a connection with the immortals, Granny Zhao immediately urged the little girl. "But I am a monster," the little girl said in a low voice. It wasn't that she didn't want to leave with Lu Chongqing, but she also felt inside that she was a monster and could bring trouble, feeling somewhat apprehensive. "I said you are not a monster. Would you like to leave with me?" Lu Chongqing continued. "The girl is willing to leave with the immortal," the little girl said, looking up with a docile and timid demeanor. After speaking, her eyes were expectant, and her voice slightly stuttering and trembling, she added, "Immortal, could you also take Granny away with us?" "Not bad, your filial piety is commendable, naturally that is possible," Lu Chongqing said. Chapter 340. This peach blossom luck is really a punishment. Lu Chongqing nodded with a smile. The little girl was willing to leave with him, and it didn't matter to bring an old lady along. After all, it wasn't anything troublesome. He didn't plan to leave the little girl at Qingzhou Mountain. Instead, he intended to settle her in Rui Prefecture first. "Thank you, Immortal. Thank you, Immortal." The little girl was thrilled. She hadn't expected Lu Chongqing to agree so readily. After all, her hesitation had also been due to her reluctance to leave Granny Zhao. Granny Zhao herself was happy and grateful. Her husband had long passed away, and her son and daughter-in-law had never returned, so naturally, she was willing to embrace this fortunate chance. "If that's the case, let's go." Seeing the old lady and the child ready, Lu Chongqing didn't say much more. With a slap of his storage bag, a spirit boat appeared. He possessed 2 spirit boats on him, but usually, he found them too conspicuous and a waste of spirit stones. Plus, since they were ill-gotten, he rarely used them. Now that there were 2 more people and the iron feather eagle was inconvenient, he naturally used the spirit boat. With a wave of his sleeve, both were gently placed onto the spirit boat. Then, under the villagers' congratulations, Lu Chongqing steered the spirit boat upwards, turning into a streak of light, and flew toward Rui Prefecture. And at that moment, Lu Chongqing sensed that the peach blossom goo had gathered a strand of peach blossom luck. It meant that taking in the little girl counted as peach blossom fortune. This also counts as peach blossom luck. This is truly amusing. Could this be the mysterious and profound fortune ordained by fate? Because of the prosperous peach blossom luck, did I just happen to rest on this great mountain, just happen to take a half-month break, and just happen to encounter this event, meeting this little girl? Lu Chongqing thought to himself. Ever since he acquired the peach blossom goo, every time an incident like this occurred, Lu Chongqing would wonder if it was related to the peach blossom goo and if it was peach blossom luck. Now that he saw the peach blossom goo harvest peach blossom luck, he was certain it was. Especially just now, if not for the sudden allure he felt from the little girl, which revealed her abnormality, he wouldn't have noticed her. Lu Chongqing looked at the bashful little girl beside him and asked gently, "Little girl, you haven't told me your name yet." "I'm just called Girl," the little girl said. "Immortal, she doesn't have a name, she's just called Girl." Then, Granny Zhao cautiously added, "No name." Lu Chongqing was momentarily taken aback when he heard this. He also remembered that in the countryside, mean names were used for better survival until an older age when proper names were given. And many girls didn't even have mean names at all. "If that's the case, shall I give you a name? How does that sound?" Lu Chongqing looked at the little girl and said with a smile, "Girl, don't hesitate to accept and thank the immortal for bestowing a name." Hearing this, Granny Zhao immediately told the little girl, "Thank you, immortal." The little girl heard this and showed a hopeful happiness. Other children in the village had names, but she had always been without one. Sometimes she too wished for a name. "From now on, you shall be called Bai Ling, white as in the color, and Ling as in spirited. How does that sound?" Lu Chongqing, looking at the faint white scales on the girl's wrist, spoke out. "Bai Ling, girl, you are to be called Bai Ling from now on. Thank the immortal promptly." Granny Zhao again told the little girl, "Bai Ling thanks the immortal." The little girl, hearing her name, repeated it twice and said cheerfully. Lu Chongqing chuckled lightly, and then waved his sleeve. A breeze blew by. Swoosh! Bai Ling's dirty little face, as if washed by a spring, became clean and fair. Her features were delicate, and her eyes clear with distinct black and white. Especially her skin, which appeared extremely fair and smooth, like that of a porcelain doll. Although she was still in her worn gray cloth garments, she seemed like a completely different person, no longer resembling a girl from a small mountain village. "Immortal." Bai Ling glanced at her own palms and touched her reddening cheeks, somewhat shyly. She had discovered, at the age of 7 when scales began to grow on her, that her skin gradually became fair and tender. Her appearance also became more and more attractive. But Granny Zhao said this wasn't good and always smeared her with mud to cover it up. So now, with the dirt removed and her true face revealed, she was somewhat unaccustomed and felt shy. When Granny Zhao witnessed this scene, she was also quite astonished. She had always known that Bai Ling was pretty, especially her skin, which wasn't like that of a country folk but even better than the city ladies. So she smeared her with mud daily. Consequently, she had almost forgotten Bai Ling's naturally beautiful appearance. Viewing her like this now, she thought to herself, no wonder this immortal took an interest in her. "Do not worry, from now on in my presence, there's no need to hide," Lu Chongqing said with a soft smile as he patted her head. Though she was but a little girl, the desire to be beautiful is common to all. She certainly would not like to have her face covered in mud all the time. Bai Ling will listen to the immortal." Bai Ling obediently nodded her head. Her large eyes showed a gleam of delight. Just as Lu Chongqing had guessed, she also did not like that, having her face smeared with mud every day. Which girl doesn't love beauty? Buzz! At this moment, Lu Chongqing gave his storage bag another pat, and instantly, several exquisite and beautiful dresses appeared. "Which one do you like?" Lu Chongqing asked with a smile. He had bought dozens of vestment robes for his own children when he was in Qingyun Market. Now that he had picked up a lovely little girl, he naturally wouldn't be stingy with a vestment robe and wanted to dress her up beautifully. Moreover, having someone by his side, shouldn't he give her some benefits? "The immortal will give me one?" Bai Ling looked at the colorful exquisite dresses before her, and immediately her eyes widened. She had never seen such pretty clothes in all her life. She didn't even know how to describe them. They were dazzling to her eyes. "Why is the immortal so nice to me?" Her eyes suddenly moistened as she spoke. Apart from Granny Zhao, he was the first person to be so kind to her. They had just met, and not only had he given her a name but also a gift of such precious and beautiful clothing. She felt dizzy, almost too bashful to accept it. "You were willing to follow me, so naturally, I should be good to you," Lu Chongqing said with a laugh as he ruffled her hair. Then he spoke in a warm voice. "From now on, you can call me brother." "Brother?" Hearing this, Bai Ling paused, her heart beating with an inexplicable stir. Then she pursed her lips, calling out somewhat shyly, "Brother?" "Ha ha ha, good, so pick one," Lu Chongqing said, laughing as he ran his fingers through her hair again. Soon after, Bai Ling looked and finally chose a white dress. Because she had never worn such a clean dress before. Brother had also said she wouldn't need to be dirty anymore, so she wanted to stay clean always. Granny Zhao, watching this unfold, also felt immense emotions stir within her, happy for the child's future. Chapter 341. My son Pingon has the talent of a martial saint. _1 Lu Chongqing could tell that Bai Ling and Granny Zhao had just gone through a significant upheaval and were physically and mentally exhausted, so they did not head directly to Rui Prefecture. The journey to Rui Prefecture from here would take roughly 3 to 4 days. The two of them were mere mortals, lacking the physical and mental stamina for such a trek. They promptly found a city to settle down in. He let them rest for a night and have a good meal. With Granny Zhao's help, Bai Ling changed into a beautifully ornate white fairy dress. Her lustrous black hair was tied in twin ponytails, making her look like a cute porcelain doll. "Brother." She approached Lu Chongqing timidly, her eyes filled with hope as she showed him her new clothes. But her entire demeanor was still very nervous, her small hands clutching the hem of her dress. Like a frightened little rabbit, she looked pitifully adorable. "Little Linger is really cute." Lu Chongqing smiled warmly at Bai Ling's timid and delicate appearance. He ruffled her little head, making a happy and contented smile appear on her cute face. "Let's go, it's time to eat." Then, Lu Chongqing took the little girl by the hand to have a meal. Just then, Lu Chongqing noticed the slight scale patterns on Bai Ling's wrist and gave them a few glances. When the little girl saw Lu Chongqing looking at the scales on her wrist, her face turned pale instantly. She quickly pulled down her sleeve to cover her wrist, her delicate body trembling, and spoke in a scared, anxious voice. "Brother, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to scare you." Seeing the little girl acting like this, her voice anxious and fearful, with a cry in her tone, Lu Chongqing sighed softly. He knew that over the years, the little girl had endured much ridicule and indifferent stares because of those scales. It had made her extremely sensitive in this respect, having developed a conditioned response. He gently kneeled down. Looking at her face, full of fear and self-doubt, he carefully lifted her sleeve and, seeing the white snake scales, spoke in a gentle tone. "How could this scare anyone? These scales are very pretty." Saying this, he gently stroked the scales with his hand. The white scales blended perfectly with her fair little arm, almost imperceptible unless closely examined. They felt slightly cool to the touch but not uncomfortable, quite smooth indeed. The little girl, her face full of fear, paused in surprise at his words. Ever since the scales had appeared on her body, even Granny Zhao had been a bit frightened at the time. Later, a boy from the village saw the scales on her arm and called her a monster. This led to the other villagers finding out, all of whom deemed her a monster. She had even thought about cutting the scales off with a knife. But each time she tried, it would be a bloody mess and the scales would grow back soon after, leaving no scars. It was only after Granny Zhao comforted her and said it was okay that she gradually accepted the scales. Yet, these scales remained a lump in her heart, always covered by clothes and not something she wanted others to see. Lu Chongqing was the first to say that the scales, which even she was concerned and frightened by, were very pretty. At that moment, the little girl's insecure and fragile heart experienced an inexplicable feeling. Her clear eyes, black and white like peach blossoms, teared up and looked at Lu Chongqing as if intoxicated but not, asking timidly, "Brother, do you really not find it scary?" Lu Chongqing, seeing the clear distinction in Bai Ling's eyes, suddenly sensed an enchanting allure, bewitching and deeply moving. It made his mental spirit ripple, and he was momentarily distracted. This, if it weren't for checking with his divine sense multiple times, confirming that she was just an ordinary little girl, Lu Chongqing might have thought she was using a bewitching technique. However, the charm disappeared in an instant. The distinction in her eyes remained pitifully innocent. The allure he had just felt seemed like an illusion, as if it had never been there. How could it be scary? "I think it's very pretty," Lu Chongqing said, looking at the timid and fragile girl while smiling gently. He was even more surprised at her condition. It had actually made him, a Foundation establishment great cultivator, slightly distracted in her presence. He didn't look any further, knowing the little girl couldn't adapt all at once. He pulled Bai Ling's sleeve back down and then ruffled her little head again, smiling. "Little Linger, Don't pay too much attention to what others think. If brother says it's pretty, then it's pretty, understand? Listening to Lu Changsheng's gentle words, Bai Ling felt as if she were basking in the spring breeze, quietly serene and peaceful in her heart. She then nodded vigorously. Let's go, it's time to eat, he said, taking the little girl's hand to dine. Outside the room, Granny Zhao looked at this scene and also breathed a sigh of relief. She did not know what the immortal had seen in Bai Ling. Whether he would dislike her because of Bai Ling's condition. But at this moment, she felt that the scales on Bai Ling's body shouldn't be a bad thing. Otherwise, this immortal wouldn't have taken an interest in her. Soon after, the trio went to a private room to eat. Facing a table full of exquisite delicacies, Bai Ling and Granny Zhao were dazzled and appeared a bit restrained. Lu Chongqing told them to make themselves at home, chatting with them while they ate, and began to inquire about some things. Through the conversation, Lu Chongqing gained a rough understanding of Bai Ling's situation. She was 11 years old. She lost her mother at 2 and her father at 5. After begging for food for a while, she was taken in by Granny Zhao. For some unknown reason, at the age of 7, Bai Ling discovered scales beginning to appear on her wrist. Then, scales gradually started to appear on her neck, shoulders, and lower legs as well. These white scales terrified and frightened her. However, the scales didn't cause any unusual symptoms in her body. If anything, they seemed to make her grow even whiter and more delicate, and she was much stronger than her peers. 7 years old, Lu Chongqing paused for a moment when he heard this age. In the cultivation world, children could be tested for their spiritual root when they reached the age of 5 or 6. Chapter 342. My son Pingon has the talent of a martial saint. The matter of the spiritual body is much more complicated. Some are born with unusual phenomena. Some are almost the same as the spiritual root. There are also those who only awaken their spiritual body in their 40s, or even require some sort of opportunity. If one were to say that the awakening of the spiritual body at the age of 7 caused scales to grow, that still makes sense. But Lu Chongqing had also read quite a bit about the spiritual body in various books. As for Bai Ling's situation, it was simply unheard of. The cultivation world is vast and wondrous. Not only can she charm me, but she can also conceal her own spiritual root, which is definitely not simple. Lu Chongqing didn't dwell on it too much, deciding to keep her with him for now. He would teach her cultivation later. After eating quite a bit, Lu Chongqing noticed that Bai Ling had quite the appetite, even larger than that of an average adult. At that moment, Bai Ling also realized that Lu Chongqing had hardly eaten anything. While she nibbled away, she never stopped, and the table was piled with leftovers, making her small face blush with shame. Immortal, the girl's appetite is a bit bigger than the average person's. Unfortunately, following this old woman, she has never been able to eat her fill. Old Lady Zhao spoke up. No worries. Having a good appetite is a blessing. Linger, eat more, if it's not enough, order more. Lu Chongqing waved his hand and said with a smile to Bai Ling. The little girl was in her growth phase, and being able to eat more was definitely a good thing. Then he turned to Old Lady Zhao and said, Old Lady Zhao, you don't need to call me immortal anymore. Simply address me as master from now on. When they entered the city earlier, Lu Chongqing had noticed that Bai Ling severely lacked a sense of security and was somewhat socially anxious. When the glances of passers-by landed on her, her delicate body would tremble slightly, displaying fear. Lu Chongqing guessed that this was an after-effect of her previous life in the village. He also planned to continue to have Old Lady Zhao take care of her, keeping their shared life. Once Bai Ling's situation improved, he would consider bringing her to the Lu residence. Yes, master. Old Lady Zhao quickly nodded in response. After a full night's rest with plenty to eat and drink, Lu Chongqing prepared food for their journey and resumed his travels towards Rui County City in his flying boat. 4 days later, the spirit boat stopped outside of Rui County City. Lu Chongqing took Bai Ling and Old Lady Zhao down from the spirit boat. Is my brother's house here? Bai Ling asked timidly upon seeing the grand and imposing city ahead. Yes, Linger, from now on, you and Old Lady Zhao will live here temporarily. Lu Chongqing smiled and nodded, taking out a transmission talisman to contact Hong Yi. One reason was to ask Hong Yi for assistance with arrangements. Also, he hadn't seen him for a long time and wanted to catch up. Suddenly, as if remembering something, His body surged with a white light, and he reverted to his true appearance. Before this, Lu Chongqing had always been using a disguised appearance. Even during their rest along the journey, he had not reverted back to his real face. Brother. Bai Ling, upon seeing Lu Changsheng's true face, opened her mouth in an O shape, totally astonished. Old Lady Zhao was also surprised, thinking to herself that indeed he was a true immortal. She had never seen such a handsome person before. Brother usually conceals his appearance as well, Lu Chongqing said with a light chuckle, and then took Bai Ling's small hand and walked towards Rui County City. Brother is so handsome, Bai Ling said softly, tilting her head up slightly as she was led by the hand, a blush spreading on her face. Rui Prefecture was bustling with life. People coming and going on the streets, never ending. However, Lu Chongqing had used his mana to conceal his aura, reducing his presence. But even so, with his handsome face, upright stature, and elegant and uncommon demeanor, many women on the street couldn't help but stop and gaze at him longingly. Walking through the city, Bai Ling looked around at the busy crowd and couldn't help but feel nervous, clutching Lu Changsheng's hand tightly. It wasn't long before Hong Yi arrived swiftly. Brother Lu, who is this? Hong Yi, looking at Bai Ling whom Lu Chongqing was holding hands with, was somewhat astounded. He was already used to Lu Chongqing bringing along ladies, but her age and appearance didn't seem to fit the role of a daughter. And to say concubine, she seemed too young. Heh, this is a sister I recognized, named Bai Ling. I plan to have her temporarily stay here and will need Brother Hong's help in looking after her, Lu Chongqing said, briefly explaining the situation of Bai Ling and old Lady Zhao. I see, Hong Yi replied after listening, not asking further. Not far from the Lu residence, he arranged a quiet courtyard for old Lady Zhao and Bai Ling. He also arranged for a maid and an old woman to serve the two. Brother Lu, have you just come back from traveling? Hong Yi asked Lu Chongqing after settling the two in. How did you know, Brother Hong? Lu Chongqing asked, raising an eyebrow. 5 months ago, Brother Li returned for a visit. Seeing you didn't come over, and since I had some free time, I went with Brother Li to the Red Maple Marketplace. But Miss Lu said you were out traveling, Hong Yi said. Fei Yu came back? Where is he now, in the Red Maple Marketplace, or did he leave? Lu Chongqing asked, pausing at Hong Yi's words. It had been 5 months since he and Xiao Xie left the Red Maple Marketplace. He didn't expect Li Feiyu to have returned right during that time. Brother Li came back this time to say farewell before heading to the Azure Phoenix Immortal City, so he left after waiting a month, Hong Yi said with a sigh, feeling a sense of reverence. He revered Li Feiyu's actions after realizing the reality that he didn't pass the selection for the immortal sects. He had given up unrealistic dreams of cultivation, intending only to inherit his father's title as the Marquis of Rui, and to break through to the energy refinement late stage in his lifetime. As for Li Feiyu, after spending so many years in the cultivation world without success, he still had full determination. Now he was even setting out to make his way in the Azure Phoenix Immortal City, a holy place for loose cultivators, which left Hong Yi feeling wistful. Chapter 343. My son Pingon has the talent of a martial saint. Azure Phoenix Immortal City. Upon hearing this, Lu Chongqing sighed. Li Feiyu had mentioned before that he planned to venture into the Azure Phoenix Immortal City. However, prior to that, he would gain experience in other places and get a glimpse of the cultivation world. Lu Chongqing hadn't expected that by the time Li Feiyu returned from his cultivation journey, he himself would just happen to be away for foundation establishment, causing the two of them to miss meeting each other again. Brother Li must have experienced quite a lot on this journey. Moreover, with Brother Li's temperament, he might even make a name for himself and establish his immortal foundation. Knowing the deep relationship between Lu Chongqing and Li Feiyu, clearly better than the one with himself, Hong Yi spoke out to console him. He then spoke of some changes in Li Feiyu. He indicated that Li Feiyu was indeed extraordinary. Having been out cultivating for over 2 years, his cultivation level was about to break through the 6th level energy refinement. But hearing this, Lu Chongqing felt even heavier at heart. In the cultivation world, if one wants to quickly improve one's cultivation level, the options are spiritual medicines, elixir medicines, or fortuitous opportunities. Li Feiyu's acquisition of resources certainly couldn't have come from his few skills as a spirit plant gatherer or a spiritual butcher. It must have been earned through risking his life. After chatting for a long while, the two parted ways. Walking on the way home, Lu Chongqing looked at the vast, turbulent canal behind the Lu residence and suddenly let out a deep sigh. Life is as the tidal flows and people as water, only to lament how few return from the rivers and lakes. After arriving home, Lu Chongqing, somewhat melancholic, saw his children and realized how quickly time passes. The older ones had grown up to his shoulder height. Pingon, what are your plans for the future? Lu Chongqing, with his arm around his son Lu Pingan's shoulder, asked. He knew that he had been somewhat negligent as a father. When Lu Pingan and the younger ones were small, he had been more attentive. But as the children grew older and more numerous, the less attention he paid. Usually, on a whim when he had spare time, he would show some concern. Dad, you've said, read thousands of books and travel thousands of miles. I'm thinking of traveling in a few years to see the world. Lu Pingan, unsure why his father was suddenly asking this, scratched his head and spoke somewhat embarrassedly. As the saying goes, one should not travel far while one's parents are alive. Being the eldest son at home, he felt such behavior was not quite appropriate. But since his father asked, he didn't hold back. It would be good for you to travel around. But wait a few more years until you've broken through to the innate realm before you go, Lu Chongqing said. These children lacked freedom, in fact. They stayed on Qingzhou Mountain when they were young. When they were slightly older, they stayed in Rui County City. Their days were filled with studying and practicing martial arts, with rare opportunities to go out. Wanting to go out and explore the world is normal. He wouldn't stop them from doing such a thing. After all, the children were growing up and should become independent. This kind of experience is part of the necessary journey of growth. The reason he mentioned the innate realm is that innate martial artists can use innate true qi to activate first-grade low and middle-grade talismans. By then, he would be much more at ease with Lu Pingan traveling in the Jianghu. Yes, Dad, I should be able to break through to the innate realm in at most 3 years, Lu Pingan said with some excitement. He had recently become a first-rate master in the martial artists community. One more step, and he would be an innate master of the Jianghu. So, in his view, his father's requirement was not difficult. Good, my son Pingan has the qualities of a martial saint. Lu Chongqing, upon hearing this, patted his son's shoulder and teased. When Li Feiyu became a first-rate master at 18, he was considered a genius. Now his son had become a first-rate master at 13. However, Lu Chongqing was also aware that his son's martial talent had little to do with his aptitude. 3 parts training, 7 parts feeding. Purely thanks to his own older father spending money. Martial Saint, Dad. Is Martial Saint a martial realm above the great masters of the innate realm? Lu Pingan, upon hearing this, immediately asked. He had heard that the great martial masters could compare to some cultivators. Now hearing about this martial saint, he became curious. He wanted to know if a martial saint was as formidable as a cultivator. It should be, right? Lu Chongqing said offhandedly. He was just making a playful guess, not knowing anything about a martial saint. He didn't expect that his son, who was missing a beat, would actually not catch the joke and instead asked him if there was a martial realm called Martial Saint. But looking into his son's eyes, he roughly understood what his son was thinking. Although the children had accepted the reality that they didn't have spiritual roots and couldn't cultivate, they still harbored fantasies about it. He let out a slight sigh and changed the subject. Pingan, if there's anything you lack, like when breaking through to the innate realm, isn't there something called the innate elixir? If I'm not around, you can go directly to Uncle Hong and ask for it when the time comes. Don't be shy. Also, when you plan to go out, don't just run off without saying hello. Remember to write me a letter to let me know. Lu Chongqing said to his son. Don't worry, Dad, I understand. Lu Pingan nodded and said. Lu Chongqing patted his son's shoulder. He was quite confident in his eldest son, who had an honest character and would listen to what he said. Wu Yu. What are your plans for the future? Lu Chongqing then turned to his other 2 children and asked. Dad, I also want to travel the Jianghu, but I don't know how many years it will take to break through to the innate realm, so maybe you'll go with Brother Pingan, Lu Wuyo said, grinning. That depends on whether your brother Pingan is willing to take you. Besides, your brother Pingan hasn't even traveled far himself yet, and then he'd have to carry you, a burden. Lu Chongqing, hearing his daughter's words, laughed and said. No worries, if Wuyo's sister wants to brave the Jianghu, let me go out and check it first. Then I'll come back and accompany Sister Wuyo together. Chapter 344. My son Pingon has the talent of a martial saint. _4. Lu Pingon immediately said, as the eldest son, under Lu Lanchu's tutelage, he still had a strong sense of responsibility as a big brother. Thank you, brother Pingon. Lu Wuyo immediately clung to Lu Pingan's arm, pouted playfully at Lu Chongxing, prompting Lu Chongxing to smile warmly, and then looked towards Lu Wuyu, saying, You don't plan on trying your luck in the Jianghu as well, do you? Second brother said he wants to be a county magistrate in the future, to govern a place and bring blessings to the people. Lu Wuyo immediately spoke up first. Not bad, that's a good aspiration. After a few years, speak to your Uncle Hong. Then, you can follow him and learn, Lu Chongxing said to his second son. He approved of Hong Yi's character and conduct. He felt his children could learn something from following Hong Yi. In this manner, Lu Chongxing discussed the present, the future, and dreams with his children. He did not forget Bai Ling. Over these few days, he took time to see Bai Ling and foster a relationship with her. And he also brought her to meet his several daughters. So they could keep each other company normally, play together, chat, and it would be easier for her to integrate into the family. After living in Rui County City for 10 days, Lu Chongxing, amid the reluctant farewells of everyone, returned to Qingzhou Mountain. Having had no news from Lu Chongxing for over 5 months, naturally, his wives and concubines worried. If not for Lu Miaoge saying everything was fine and that Lu Chongxing had gone traveling with a good friend, they would have assumed something untoward had happened to him. Seeing Lu Chongxing return now, they all expressed their concern and care. Lu Chongxing had to invent a whole narrative explaining his journey, and only after working hard into the evening did he manage to placate his wives and concubines. After spending several days appeasing his wives and concubines, Lu Chongxing also began to focus on his children. Now that his son Lu Xianji had started cultivating after drawing qi into his body, naturally, Lu Chongxing was full of encouragement and even awarded him a vestment robe and a lower-quality flying sword magic artifact as a reward. He hoped his son would cultivate diligently to reach the 3rd-level energy refinement soon. This scene made the other siblings envious and many wives, concubines, and maids secretly wished their own children would strive and excel. But the second child with a spiritual root, Lu Chuanjun, was only 10 years old. He still had more than a year before reaching the age to start cultivation. Lu Chongxing looked forward to his children's achievements, filled with anticipation. He wondered how many achievements he would get for the number of his children who could draw qi into their bodies. Or whether there were achievements for when a child reached the energy refinement middle stage or energy refinement late stage. Afterward, Lu Chongxing chatted and shared heart-to-heart talks with his children, paying attention to their situations. Thanks to the overall atmosphere of the Lu family and Lu Miao's attentive management of the backyard, he thought that the children, regardless of their personalities, had not developed any noticeable distortions and were doing pretty well. If there was any issue, it was that the children of concubines and maids were relatively less close to him, their father. They felt more awe than affection for him. Concerning this, Lu Chongxing understood the situation. Be it his wives or his children, he could not treat everyone equally. Often with his children, it was either about their spiritual root or their mother's status. So even though he was easygoing with his children, the lack of regular contact naturally led to a decrease in closeness. Under the influence of the atmosphere and their mother's teachings, an image of dignity had formed in the children's minds. Even though he knew about this issue, Lu Chongxing had no way to improve it. He now had 117 children. 28 of them had spiritual roots. Even if he only cared for those with spiritual roots, he didn't have the time and energy. All he could do was to pay a bit more attention to the children and try to ensure they didn't go astray. After finishing the heartfelt discussions with his wives and children, Lu Chongxing also remembered his golden armor bean mother. He dug a hole in his courtyard, poured in some second-rank spiritual earth, and planted the golden armor bean mother. He also asked Lu Miaoyun to water and look after it on his behalf regularly. After all, the earlier it was planted, the sooner it would sprout. It couldn't be grown inside the spiritual pet bag. Lu Miaoyun, although unsure of what kind of seed it was, remembered her husband's instructions and resolved to care for it well. In the following time, Lu Chongxing was dedicated to child-rearing in Qingzhou Mountain. He planned to keep shuttling between Qingzhou Mountain and the Red Leaf Valley Market once he received news from Xiaofan. Chapter 345. the #1 talisman path practitioner of the Lu family, crafting the 7 luminaries heart lamp. _1. Qingyun sect. Sutra Pavilion. Xiaofan, are you sure you want to choose such a technique? The guardian elder looked at the 3 techniques Xiaofan had chosen. Upon seeing one of them, a strange expression crossed his face. Mastering one spell can help understand all spells. The cultivation technique I practice requires comprehension of various techniques, so I choose this one. Xiaofan's demeanor was cool and holy, her expression calm as she made a slight bow and spoke. Since you've made up your mind, Xiaofan, this old man naturally won't say more. However, you should be aware of our Qingyun sect's rules. You must swear an oath to the heart demon that no cultivation techniques shall be leaked. The guardian elder, seeing Xiaofan's disposition, spoke no further, merely nodding slightly. Thank you, elder. Xiaofan nodded, took the heart demon oath to keep the cultivation techniques confidential, and then left promptly. It seems that foundation establishment does have a significant impact on childbearing. Lu Chongqing had returned to Qingzhou Mountain for over a month now. In this past month, he had hardly practiced cultivation. Apart from making talismans, he had spent all his time on trivial matters with his wives and children and on childbearing efforts. Yet despite trying hard for a month, only 3 concubines became pregnant. He realized that this must be due to his breakthrough to foundation establishment. As cultivators enhance their cultivation level, each breakthrough in a major realm makes it more difficult to sire offspring, a common sense in the cultivation world. However, the higher the cultivation level of the parents, the higher their strength, and the higher the probability that the children born will possess spiritual roots and of better quality. Now that I've broken through to foundation establishment, plus the system's boost of a 5% probability for spiritual roots, the probability and quality of my children's spiritual roots should also significantly improve. Lu Chongqing thought to himself. Although he had been diligently engaged in childbearing this month, he also adhered to the principle of optimal breeding. All 3 children were conceived by concubines with spiritual roots. Therefore, there was a reasonable probability that the children too would possess spiritual roots. If you and I were to have a child, it should be of good aptitude, I reckon. At that moment, Lu Chongqing thought of Xiaofan. She not only possessed a 4th-grade spiritual root and a moonlight spirit body, but she was also a foundation establishment cultivator. If the 2 were to have offspring, it would most likely result in a child with spiritual roots, and one of commendable aptitude. Yet he also knew that having a child with Xiaofan at this point would be quite difficult. Childbearing would delay several years of cultivation, and her master was unlikely to agree. Husband, grandmother has come over. It seems she has something to discuss with you. Lu Miaoyun came to the backyard at that moment, informing Lu Chongqing. Something to discuss with me? Surprised by the news, Lu Chongqing followed Lu Miaoyun to the main hall. In the hall, the 4th elder was sipping tea. The elderly person was now 90 years old. The once plump and aged face had aged considerably. The now completely white hair had once shown mere streaks of gray. Grandmother. Lu Chongqing immediately greeted her with a bow. Chongqing. The 4th elder nodded approvingly, her face wearing a loving smile. After chatting about family matters for a while, she disclosed her purpose for visiting. She indicated that she was getting older and was preparing to step down from her position as family elder. Therefore, she was preparing to recommend Lu Chongqing for the position of the elder within the family. At the same time, she hoped Lu Chongqing would instruct the Lu family's youth in talisman making when he had the time. Taking the position of elder, instructing the Lu family disciples in talisman making. Upon hearing this, Lu Chongqing pondered for a moment. If given the choice, he would definitely not want to take on this responsibility. Because right now, he truly was very busy. He needed to make talismans, refine the 9 treasure jade ruby, pay attention to his children, engage in childbearing, and cultivate himself. In the past month since his return, he had devoted almost all his time and thoughts to his wives and children and had barely practiced cultivation. He hadn't even managed to cultivate the 7 luminaries heart lamp technique to this day. Taking on the role of elder would consume even more of his time and energy. However, the 4th elder's plea was earnest, making it hard for him to refuse outright. After all, the elderly deserved to retire and enjoy her remaining years. Additionally, in the Lu family, being a cultivation family, the elder usually was someone from within the family ranks. Chongqing, Instructing the disciples in talisman making is mainly about giving lectures to enlighten them and to see if they have any talent for the talisman path. If they have talent, it would be just like when grandmother taught you and Sister Miaoga, it won't take too much time. The fourth elder saw Lu Changsheng's hesitation and continued speaking. Her tone was gentle and loving, with a hint of hope and plea in her eyes. Grandmother, instructing in talisman making is naturally no problem. As for the position of elder, please give it to Miaoga. As you know, I have no great ambitions and don't like dealing with affairs normally. Lu Chongqing met the elder's gaze and spoke. Since the elder had put it that way, he felt he couldn't outright refuse. Taking just a bit of time to lecture and share knowledge of the talisman path with the Lu family disciples wasn't too demanding. He considered it a way of contributing a bit more to the Lu family. Besides, it wasn't something he could easily shrug off. Lu Chongqing knew very well that if he declined, the duty would ultimately fall on his wife, Lu Miaoga. He hoped for Lu Miaoga to have fewer worries and to focus more on her own cultivation. Given that, he might as well accept on her behalf. Moreover, he was accustomed to providing such enlightenment to his own children, so it amounted to teaching a few more. Chongqing, this position of elder is not only grandmother's wish but also the intent of the family head and the other family elders. Moreover, this elder position is really just a title and doesn't come with many duties. Miaoga will have other arrangements in the family in the future. The fourth elder patted Lu Changsheng's hand and whispered softly. Chapter 346. The number 1 talisman path practitioner of the Lu family, crafting the 7 luminaries heart lamp. Lu Chongqing understood upon hearing this that the position of family elder was the Lu family's way of further pulling him in. Otherwise, there was no such thing as inheritance of the elder's position. It couldn't be decided by the fourth elder alone. It required a vote from all the Lu family elders. Grandmother, since you have said so, Chongqing naturally accepts. Seeing the old woman's kind face, Lu Chongqing didn't refuse any longer and nodded his agreement. Good, this matter will be decided at this year's family gathering. It will be hard work for you then, Chongqing. Upon seeing Lu Chongqing accept, the fourth elder's face broke into a smile. Such a matter was significant and naturally wouldn't be decided on the spot. She had come to give a heads up, so that Lu Chongqing could be prepared. Grandmother, it's not hard at all, Lu Chongqing said with a slight smile, shaking his head. Chongqing, how are you doing with the first-grade Supreme Talisman now? At that moment, the fourth elder started to show her usual concern for Lu Changsheng's talisman-making skill. She would ask about Lu Changsheng's progress in talisman-making every half-year or so. Half a year ago, Lu Chongqing had already revealed skill almost comparable to that of the fourth elder. I still need grandmother's guidance. Without saying much, Lu Chongqing showed his own talisman-making skill to the fourth elder. Now that he had broken through foundation establishment, he felt bold enough to be a bit more daring. He planned to accelerate his progress in the talisman path. In a few years, he would reveal his second-grade talisman-making skill to the public. Very good, very good. The fourth elder was thrilled and full of approval as Lu Chongqing successfully drew a first-grade supreme talisman, her face alight with excitement. She could see that Lu Changsheng's skill in making talismans was in no way inferior to her own. The talisman, even if she were to draw it herself, would not surpass the proficiency shown by Lu Chongqing, or might even be inferior. Lu Miaoyun, who stood to one side, although not fully understanding, was also filled with joy and happiness. She knew that her husband's skill in the talisman path had improved again. Over the years, she had watched as Lu Changsheng's talisman path skills steadily improved. Chongqing, in the future for talisman making, there's nothing much grandmother can teach you. You must rely on yourself. This purple one is the inheritance for our Lu family's second-grade high-quality talisman master. This white one contains my own annotations and understandings of the talisman master inheritance over the past few decades. Now, take them and study well. The only thing grandmother wishes now is to see you become a second-rank talisman master. The fourth elder straightened the storage bag and took out a white jade case. Inside were 2 jade slips she passed to Lu Chongqing with a solemn expression. Lu Chongqing, seeing her expression, knew that this must be the most precious thing the old woman possessed. After all, it was extremely difficult for ordinary cultivators to acquire advanced cultivation techniques and second-rank skills inheritance. Not just because they were expensive. It was also because there were very few available in the market. This inheritance for the second-grade high-quality talisman master was probably the foundational inheritance of the Lu family's talisman path. Grandmother, Chongqing will certainly not disappoint your expectations. Lu Chongqing nodded emphatically, accepting with both hands respectfully. Very good, very good. The fourth elder joyfully patted Lu Chongqing on the shoulder, not saying much more on the subject. After briefly chatting for a while, she went to visit several of her other grandsons. As the old woman aged, her fondness for the children grew even more. Lu Yun, Lu Miao's eldest son, was also 9 years old this year. Having been discovered to have a 7th-grade spiritual root, he was very much loved by the fourth elder. However, Lu Miao's second child did not have a spiritual root, and the third child only had a 9th-grade spiritual root, causing both Lu Miaoyun and the elder a bit of disappointment. Congratulations to my husband. After the fourth elder departed, Lu Miaoyun congratulated Lu Chongqing with a joyous face. Her husband was not only making rapid progress in the art of talisman making, but he was also about to become a family elder, which as his wife, naturally seemed like a great cause for celebration. She felt proud and happy for her husband's achievements. Indeed, it is something to celebrate, Lu Chongqing replied, smiling and nodding. Even if he was indifferent to the elder position, it was indeed a happy event for a normal person, and it would seem somewhat remiss if he appeared too calm about it. Before long, Lu Miaoyun announced the news within the household. Congratulations to my husband. Congratulations, father. Congratulations, daddy. The wives and children in the back courtyard, upon hearing the news, were all very happy, offering their congratulations to Lu Chongqing. Their thoughts and understanding were similar to those of Lu Miaoyun. They felt that becoming a family elder was something very extraordinary and honorable. Now that their own husband and father were about to become a Lu family elder, it was naturally a remarkable achievement. Lu Chongqing, seeing his wives' and children's happy faces, couldn't help but feel joyful, a smile spreading across his face. The matter hasn't been decided yet, it's enough that we know ourselves. He waved his hand and thought to himself that if they knew he, their husband and father, was already a foundation establishment great cultivator, they would be even more astonished. Half a month passed in the blink of an eye. Inside the practice room, Lu Chongqing sat cross-legged with his eyes closed, the 7 luminary stars appearing tirelessly in his mind along with endless sword qi. Countless strands of sword qi gathered in his dantian, slowly forming an ancient lamp with 7 star-like flames circulating around it. 7 luminaries heart lamp. With spiritual light in the heart as the wick and mana as the oil, a flicker of mental spirit ignites the heart lamp, dispelling elixir toxicity, protecting mental spirit, clarifying the mind to see one's true nature, and warding off external demons. Should it be forged into a life-bound spiritual artifact, and with heavenly silver as the oil, it could hasten cultivation, refine mana, and make one's foundations even more pure. Furthermore, when facing an enemy, stirring the mana can unleash boundless sword qi to attack, making it a versatile tool suitable for offense, defense, and cultivation. Chapter 347. The number 1 talisman path practitioner of the Lu family, crafting the 7 luminaries heart lamp. After a long time, Lu Chongqing slowly opened his eyes, inspected his dantian where the 7 luminaries heart lamp had condensed, exhaled lightly, and his face revealed a look of joy. Through over half a month of secluded and arduous cultivation, he had finally succeeded in condensing the 7 luminaries heart lamp. Next, he could spend materials to forge this 7 luminaries heart lamp into his life-bound spiritual artifact. However, he did not start the forging right away, because such a task could not be completed in a short time, and it was not possible to interrupt the process. He would need to be in seclusion for several months to accomplish it. Now Lu Chongqing was beginning to understand why cultivators were beyond the constraints of time. He didn't even have to spend time comprehending and learning the method to condense this 7 luminaries heart lamp. Just visualizing the 7 luminaries, condensing sword qi, and forging the heart lamp had already taken over half a month of his time. If it were an ordinary person, they would have to be in seclusion for at least 3 or 4 months, or even half a year to condense this lamp. Sigh. No wonder cultivators cannot have too many distractions and trivial matters. With too many trivial matters, it's really hard to focus on cultivation. Lu Chongqing sighed, stepping out of the practice room. He immediately went to the residence of the 4th elder to inquire about teaching the Lu family disciples about the talisman path. He planned to teach this class and then use seclusion to break through to the 7th level energy refinement as a pretext to forge the 7 Luminaries' heart lamp, his life-bound spiritual artifact. After all, the 7 Luminaries' heart lamp was beneficial to cultivation, and the sooner it was forged, the better. I'll let the family head know later, and you can start teaching tomorrow at Qingzhou Villa. Upon hearing Lu Changsheng's intentions, the 4th elder said so. The next day, the sun shone brightly. The 4th elder then arrived at Lu Changsheng's residence. In addition to the 4th elder, there was also a man in his 30s with a handsome and refined appearance, wearing a blue shirt and greeting them courteously. This man was the Lu family's young family head, Lu Miaocheng. By this year's family meeting, he would become the new family head of the Lu family. It wasn't that Lu Yuanding had done anything wrong. Instead, the term of the family head of the Lu family lasted for 20 years. This year happened to mark the end of Lu Yuanding's 20-year tenure, so he would step down to serve as an elder. Grandma, young family head. Lu Chongxing greeted the 4th elder and Lu Miaocheng with a bow. Chongxing. The two also nodded to Lu Chongxing in return. This young family head was Lu Yuanding's nephew. That's why his temperament was somewhat similar to Lu Yuanding's. He was polite and dignified in his dealings, making him a very comfortable person to be around. Both had come for the Talisman Path class. Since it was Lu Changsheng's first time teaching, the 4th elder had to come to oversee things. As for the young family head, he was there to set the scene and check on the situation, so that none of the family disciples would misbehave and offend Lu Chongxing, the future elder and talisman master. Upon hearing this, Lu Chongxing also called his sons Lu Xianji and Lu Chuanjin to come along. He had already noticed that both of his sons lacked talent in the talisman path. But lack of talent aside, as cultivators, having more understanding of talismans was not a bad thing. Everyone made their way to Qingzhou Villa. Uncle Fu. Lu Chongxing greeted the steward of Qingzhou Villa as he saw Uncle Fu. The old man had also aged significantly, and was currently in a semi-retired state. 4th elder, young family head, Chongxing. Uncle Fu greeted the three of them. He felt somewhat sentimental inside. The once son-in-law of the Lu family had now become a core member. In the realm of talismans, he had surpassed Sister Miaoga in the Lu family to replace the 4th elder as the #1 person in the Lu family. He led the three to a large hall in Qingzhou Villa. Inside, there were more than 20 Lu family disciples. The youngest were 11 or 12 years old, and the oldest were only 15 or 16. We pay our respects to the 4th elder, Uncle Miaocheng, Elder Miaocheng, Teacher Lu. After receiving the message the day before, these Lu family disciples knew that Lu Chongxing would be teaching talisman making. Their elders at home had also instructed them to be polite and respectful to Lu Chongxing. After all, during the battle where the Lu family vanquished the Chen family, the older generation of the Lu family knew just how substantial this son-in-law was. He was not only extraordinarily gifted in the talisman path, earning the favor of the Lu family ancestor who personally bestowed the marriage, but he also had a deep relationship with a foundation establishment great cultivator. Xianji, Chuanjin, find a place to sit down. Lu Chongxing said to his two sons, then started the class. With his second-rank talisman-making skill, his foundation in this basic knowledge was exceptionally solid. The theoretical aspects were also articulated as if he had a full set of instructions. He was nothing like the 4th elder, who relied on slow self-study, and could not compare to his finely honed approach. Therefore, in terms of enlightening and lecturing the newcomers on the talisman path, he could not be better suited. Lu Chongxing did not hold back his skills, teaching in a straightforward and comprehensible manner, fluid and natural. Moreover, in the classroom, he broke down the steps of basic talismans for everyone, teaching them bit by bit, to the point that these children and youths were utterly enraptured. Even the 4th elder, upon hearing Lu Changsheng's lecture and the dissection of the talisman steps, couldn't help but be surprised. She felt that Lu Changsheng's instruction was simply flawless, with not a single fault to find. She even experienced the sensation of reviewing old knowledge and coming to new realizations. She had originally assumed that Lu Chongxing, relying on his own exploration, would have some deficiencies in his foundational knowledge. Therefore, she came to listen to the class, also thinking of giving Lu Chongxing some guidance at that time to reinforce his basics. Unexpectedly, under these circumstances, she reviewed the basics herself. Alright, today's class will end here. If you are interested, you can go home and practice some on your own, and I will check on your progress in the next lesson, said Lu Chongqing after lecturing for almost an hour. Simply listening is of no use in talisman making. After all, even if your mind understands, if your hands are unable to execute, it's no good. To go far on the talisman path, one must unite body and mind, with meticulous and minute control over one's own spiritual power and the strength applied. Then, through continuous hard practice, one can achieve success on the talisman path. Chongqing, your performance today was truly surprising to Grandma, said the fourth elder, her face full of smiles, rather moved as she spoke to Lu Chongqing. Grandma is overpraising me. It's all thanks to your regular guidance, humbly replied Lu Chongqing. He then spoke of his preparations to break through the 7th level energy refinement. The next lecture might be in a few months. Chongqing, if you plan to give a lecture, just tell Uncle Fu a few days in advance, Lu Miaochong spoke up. Asking Lu Chongqing to give lectures obviously couldn't involve fixed times. It had to be at Lu Changsheng's convenience. By the way, Chongqing, do you need to exchange for a high-rank breakthrough elixir for your advancement to the energy refinement late stage? I remember the Lu family currently has 2 high-rank breakthrough elixirs, Lu Miaochong continued. That's exactly what I intend. I'm planning to exchange for a breakthrough elixir to assist, said Lu Chongqing with a smile. It wasn't about taking advantage of using contribution value for such a small benefit. It was simply that for someone with a 9th grade spiritual root, it would seem abnormal not to use a breakthrough elixir as an aid. I just so happen to be going there as well, so let's go together, Lu Miaochong nodded promptly. Okay, Lu Chongqing nodded, instructing his 2 sons to head back on their own. He went with Lu Miaochong to exchange for the high-rank breakthrough elixir. This high-rank breakthrough elixir, when purchased in the marketplace, costs 1,200 spirit stones. But when exchanged using contribution value in the Lu family, it only costs 850 points. That's equivalent to 850 spirit stones. This is one of the benefits provided by the family, encouraging the Lu family disciples to contribute more. Lu Chongqing, providing talismans for the Lu family every month, had long since accumulated enough contribution to exchange for the high-rank breakthrough elixir. After exchanging for the high-rank breakthrough elixir, Lu Chongqing bid farewell to Lu Miaochong. He could see that this young family head had always been extending goodwill towards him. But the man was also a close uncle through marriage relations, so naturally, Lu Chongqing was friendly in return. For every inch of respect given, he would return a foot. I wonder when Shiyu will come. This refining of the 7 luminaries heart lamp will likely take 3 to 4 months, mused Lu Chongqing on his way back. It had been 3 months since they parted ways. She went back to Qing Yun's sect to report and to cultivate the techniques for foundation establishment, so she was expected to visit in the coming months. Yuner, keep this transmission talisman for me, and if anyone tries to contact me, just tell them I'm in close cultivation. Tell her to go directly to Red Leaf Valley Market to find Sister Miaoga if she has any issue, Lu Chongqing instructed upon reaching home. He mentioned his plans for going into seclusion and left his and Xiao Xia's transmission talisman with his wife, Lu Miaoyun. He did this to avoid Shiyu arriving while he was not present. Chapter 348. The Effect of the 7 Luminaries Heart Lamp, Elder of the 9 Bags _1. Time flew by, and in the blink of an eye, 4 months had passed. Inside the practice room, Lu Chongqing was dressed in a blue long robe, sitting cross-legged in meditation. In front of him, an ancient star lamp hovered. This ancient lamp was simple in design, its body a bronze color with a faint colorful light flowing over it. Around the lamp's dish, 7 thumb-sized dazzling gems were embedded, like 7 small stars, emanating strands of brilliant light. The 7 luminaries heart lamp. It's done. Lu Chongqing suddenly opened his eyes, looking at the ancient lamp before him. He could distinctly feel that this ancient lamp was integrated with him, connected to his mental spirit. This was a life-bound spiritual artifact. Even as a lower-grade spiritual artifact, its power far exceeded that of ordinary spiritual artifacts. And it could be taken inside the body, nurtured with the mana within one's dantian, gradually enhancing its power and quality. Moreover, in times of danger, the spiritual artifact could actively alert and protect the owner. The only downside was that if the life-bound spiritual artifact was damaged, the owner would also sustain certain injuries. Lu Chongqing reached out, gripping the ancient lamp in his hand. It felt warm to the touch, lacking the coldness of metal, as if he was holding a piece of warm jade. With a slight intent of his mental spirit, he channeled mana into it, and the 7 gems on the lamp immediately released a blinding divine light, like 7 stars in rotation, with a golden flame emerging in the center. Under the starlight and golden flame, Lu Chongqing looked immaculate, transcendent. Ha! Lu Chongqing, holding the ancient lamp, gently blew on it. Instantly, the lamp's flame flickered, and strands of sword qi burst forth. These strands of sword qi were sharp and elegant, encircling Lu Chongqing, forming a sword qi true dragon, a sword qi fierce tiger, and a sword qi barrier. Although its power is only equivalent to a single blow from an ordinary foundation establishment cultivator, having the profound origin bead at my side, I fear not the consumption of mana, and in a moment's thought, I can unleash up to 100 strands of sword qi, which even a foundation establishment middle stage cultivator would find difficult to withstand. If it's a group battle, facing energy refining cultivators, it would be a one-sided slaughter. Lu Chongqing observed the strands of sword qi around him, felt the spiritual pressure, and estimated their power. Immediately with a thought, the sword qi dissipated, and the 7 luminaries' heart lamp transformed into a streak of light, entering his body and traveling along his meridians to hover above the qi ocean core. Having a tangible spiritual artifact and merely a technique conjured 7 luminaries' heart lamp were completely different experiences. Now that the spiritual artifact was inside his body, Lu Chongqing also found it quite mystical. I wonder how effective the 7 luminaries' heart lamp is in condensing mana. Lu Chongqing thought of the effects of the 7 luminaries' heart lamp on concentrating mana at its foundation. This was also one of the most formidable effects of the 7 luminaries' heart lamp. He took 2 qian of heavenly silver from his storage bag, as fuel for the 7 luminaries' heart lamp. Immediately, the golden flame of the 7 luminaries' heart lamp blazed brightly, then entered into the elixir lake, making the liquid mana inside the elixir lake bubble and churn, as if boiling. Time went by little by little. After a long time, when the fuel was exhausted, the elixir lake returned to calmness. Tisk tisk. Down goes 2 qian of heavenly silver, and I hardly saw any effect, only a faint sense of purer mana. According to the 7 luminaries' great freedom sword scripture, with the 7 luminaries' heart lamp condensing mana, the foundation can be enhanced by up to 30%, and this 30% probably requires burning upwards of 100 jin of heavenly silver. Lu Chongqing couldn't help but shake his head in amazement. Ordinarily, the 7 luminaries' heart lamp uses mana as fuel, deployed in battle, expelling elixir toxicity, guarding the mental spirit, and resisting external demons. But to condense the mana foundation, one had to use heavenly silver as the fuel. This heavenly silver was priced at 100 spirit stones for 1 liang. If one were to burn up to 100 jin of heavenly silver, that is, burning up to about 150 or 200,000 spirit stones. Even for Lu Chongqing, such a figure was astonishing. However, a 30% enhancement in mana, not only solidifying the foundation, is also beneficial for the probability and quality of core formation. The cost in spirit stones, one could say, is worth it. Moreover, the price of 100 spirit stones for 1 liang is what I paid at the Qingyun Commerce Guild. If I purchase it myself, at least I could get it for 20 to 30% cheaper. Lu Chongqing pondered in his heart. He was in no rush to use heavenly silver to condense his mana foundation. This kind of thing could completely wait until there were surplus spirit stones. Or wait until he had a solid base, then slowly start to purchase heavenly silver. Besides, such a process is not accomplished overnight. It's a long-term project. It's about time to go out, otherwise after being closed up for 4 months, the family might think something has happened to me. Lu Chongqing used the cleansing technique, cleaned up the practice room, packed up the heavenly canopy 5 elements formation, and walked out of the practice room. Husband! Daddy! Outside the courtyard, Chu Zhenzhen was telling a story to their little son and daughter. Upon seeing Lu Chongqing, they immediately voiced their surprise joyfully. Zhenzhen, I've made you worry. Lu Chongqing knew that his prolonged seclusion must have worried his wives. Was your cultivation smooth, husband? Chu Zhenzhen, clad in a light pink and white dress, her delicate features charming, hugged Lu Chongqing and asked with concern. Having closed up for so long, naturally, I've made a breakthrough. Lu Chongqing smiled, gently patting his petite wife's back. After all these years, Chu Zhenzhen was still very attached to him. But with children now, when he wasn't around, she would focus her heart and energy on the kids. Congratulations, husband. Chu Zhenzhen, hearing this, immediately congratulated him cheerfully. Having been on Qingzhou Mountain for many years, she too was practicing cultivation and had gained quite an understanding of it. She knew that Lu Changsheng's breakthrough this time was to the 7th level energy refinement, which was the energy refinement late stage. At Qingzhou Mountain, reaching the energy refinement late stage already qualified as a master. Congratulations, Daddy. Congratulations, Daddy. The two little ones beside also followed with their congratulations. What story is Mom telling you? Lu Chongqing looked at his son and daughter, took out 2 spirit fruits from his storage bag and handed them over, as he affectionately ruffled their heads and asked with a smile. Chapter 349. The Effect of the 7 Luminaries Heart Lamp, Elder of the 9 Bags. Chu Zhenzhen had 4 children, and even the youngest was already 6 years old. This made Lu Chongqing marvel at how quickly time passed. He still vividly remembered making that 3-year pledge and on the way back, bringing Chu Zhenzhen home from the dilapidated temple to Qingzhou Mountain. The 2 little ones then prattled on to Lu Chongqing with their chirping voices. Following Lu Changsheng's emergence from seclusion, his other wives and concubines came to visit one after another with their congratulations, delighted at Lu Changsheng's breakthrough to the energy refinement late stage. After reuniting with his wives and family, Lu Miaoyun informed Lu Chongqing that the Lu family clan assembly had already concluded. Because he was in seclusion, they did not disturb him. This year's clan assembly marked the completion of a generational handover within the Lu family. Lu Miaochong assumed the role of the new family head, while Lu Yuanding became a family elder, responsible for the family finances and assisting the new family head in managing the family. Lu Miaoge also became an executor of the family, a candidate in the next generation of elders. Lu Changsheng's position as family elder was also made official. However, due to his generation and age, he was placed at the end of the line, as the 9th elder. Upon becoming an elder, besides the title, the family benefits and treatment also correspondingly improved. For the specific obligations of an elder, Lu Chongqing needed to speak with the new family head, Lu Miaochong. 9th elder. Hearing this ranking, Lu Chongqing smirked with a smile, his thoughts inadvertently turning to the elders ranked by bags. Husband, the transmission talisman you gave me also brought news last month. Lu Miaoyun conveyed that a woman had come looking for Lu Chongqing last month. After chatting with her for a while and learning that Lu Chongqing was in seclusion, the woman then left for the Red Leaf Valley Market. Yuna, thank you for your hard work. Upon hearing this, Lu Chongqing nodded, understanding that it was Xiaofan who had visited. But he had a pile of matters at hand and wasn't in a rush to go to the Red Leaf Valley Market just yet. First, he sought out Lu Miaochong to confirm the specifics involved with these so-called elder duties. Lu Miaochong told Lu Chongqing that the main duties revolved around talisman affairs. Then there was cultivating talisman path apprentices, overseeing the profits and losses of the talisman shops in the various marketplaces, along with some other trifles. After hearing this, Lu Chongqing immediately refused to involve himself with the talisman shops, advising the Lu family to find someone else to manage them. He didn't want to get too involved with the core interests of the Lu family, nor did he have the spare time for it. After all, he didn't even have time to manage his own shops. Once they roughly finished their discussion, Lu Chongqing informed Uncle Fu at Qingzhou Villa that he would be teaching in 3 days. After taking care of all these matters, Lu Chongqing went back home to spend time with his wives, continuing with his grand endeavor of parenting. In the blink of an eye, another half a month had passed. During this half month, Lu Chongqing basically didn't cultivate. He was focused on parenting. As for how many more children he would have, that would require some time to determine. One day, Lu Chongqing suddenly felt a surge of pure spiritual power infusing into his own body. What is this? Lu Chongqing was somewhat surprised, unsure where the spiritual power came from. It took a moment before he realized it was his son, Lu Xianji, who had made a breakthrough to the 2nd level. But this bit of cultivation is like pouring a jug of water into a pond for me at the moment. Lu Chongqing lightly shook his head. After briefly showing concern for his son, he told his wives that he needed to make a trip to the Red Leaf Valley Market. Before heading to the marketplace, Lu Chongxing paid a visit to his father-in-law, Lu Yuanding. It wasn't that there was anything in particular. He simply wanted to take his daughter Lu Qingzhu to visit her mother. Since Lu Miaoga spent most of her time in the Red Leaf Valley Market, the daughter was typically taken care of either by Lu Miaohuan or Lu Yuanding. Recently, both Lu Qingzhu and Lu Qingshan had been taken there by Lu Yuanding. Father-in-law. Upon reaching Lu Yuanding's residence, Lu Chongxing immediately saw him babysitting his grandchildren. His son, Lu Qingshan, was energetically chasing a white goose with a small wooden sword. His daughter, Lu Qingzhu on the other hand, sat quietly in Lu Yuanding's arms, watching Lu Qingshan chase the goose. Chongxing, you've come. Lu Yuanding, holding his little granddaughter, greeted Lu Chongxing with a beaming smile. He used to be quite busy, but after relinquishing the position of family head, he gained some leisure time. As for the elder duties, they essentially depended on oneself. If one were willing to delegate authority, it wouldn't be too busy, so he also had the leisure to spend time with the children. Daddy, huh? The goose chasing Lu Qingshan, upon spotting his father's arrival, charged over with his little legs and a swing of his sword. Seeing this, Lu Chongxing reached out and caught his son by the nape and lifted the mischievous boy. Grandpa, save me. Lu Qingshan immediately called out for his grandfather's help. Daddy. Lu Qingzhu, nestled in Lu Yuanding's arms, stared at Lu Chongxing, as if she took a moment to recognize her father, causing him a twinge of shame. After all, children of her age had a limited memory, and he hadn't been around much. Father-in-law, I'm planning to go to the Red Leaf Valley Market, so I wanted to take Qingzhu to see Miaoga. Lu Chongxing set his son down and explained his intentions. All right, Chongxing, I know you're busy now, but if you can, do try to spend more time with Miaoga and Huaner, Lu Yuanding said, nodding. Chongxing understands. After chatting with Lu Yuanding for a while, Lu Chongxing picked up his daughter. Looking at her little chubby, pale and tender face, he couldn't help but give her 2 kisses and said, Qingzhu, let's go, we're going to see your mother. Every time he saw his daughter's little face, he couldn't resist kissing her. Daddy, I also want to go see Auntie. Hearing this, his son Lu Qingshan also shouted loudly. He was very fond of his aunt Lu Miaoga, because every time, she would buy him delicious treats and fun toys. Lu Chongxing glanced at his son. To be honest, he was rather reluctant to take this son out. Chapter 350. The Effect of the 7 Luminaries Heart Lamp, Elder of the 9 Bags. The problem is that this son is too lively and always needs to be watched over. Unlike his daughter Lu Qingzhu, who is usually quiet and well-behaved, not causing any fuss, very clever. All right, since you want to go, let's go together. Thinking that he rarely spent time with the child, Lu Chongxing still nodded in agreement. Seeing that Lu Chongxing intended to take both children, Lu Yuanding also mentioned that he just happened to be visiting the Red Leaf Valley Market and would accompany Lu Chongxing. Although the Red Leaf Valley Market was relatively close, he was still somewhat worried about the 2 children, who were not yet 4 years old, being taken out by Lu Chongxing alone. Hearing this, Lu Chongxing naturally couldn't say anything. With Lu Yuanding there, at least someone would help look after the children, saving him from a headache. Soon after, the 2 men each carried a child and rode the Iron Feather Eagle to the Red Leaf Valley Market. Half a day later, the 2 arrived at the Red Leaf Valley Market. The Red Leaf Valley Market now had a much larger crowd than before. Lu Yuanding told Lu Chongxing that the 4 big families plan to hold an auction every year starting next year, to attract more loose cultivators. He also hoped that by then, Lu Chongxing could bring out some top-quality supreme talismans for the auction. An auction good? Lu Chongxing nodded upon hearing the news. Now that the Red Leaf Valley had been open for 3 years, the flow of people had reached a small bottleneck. To attract cultivators to come, naturally something had to be offered. Otherwise, with a security guarantee like Red Leaf Valley Markets being average, and lacking big shops from the Qingyun Commerce Guild or Myriad Treasures Pavilion to settle in, the appeal was indeed limited. As the 2 talked and walked, they arrived at the Lu family's spiritual talisman shop of Qingzhu. Dad, Chongxing, Lu Miaoga smiled when she saw Lu Chongxing and Lu Yuanding arrive, carrying the 2 children. Immediately after, the group, along with the children, strolled around the market, enjoying themselves. After wandering around for a long time and finishing their meal, Lu Yuanding gave the couple some space and took the two children back to the Lu family's compound. Since Red Leaf Valley was initially divided by the four big families, the Lu family got the lion's share, taking up almost 40%. So for the Lu family people in this Red Leaf Valley market, there was no shortage of places to stay. Chongqing, that Miss Xiao has come over again and is staying in the cave dwelling you used before. Back at the spiritual talisman shop, Lu Miaoge said to Lu Chongqing. Sister Miaoge, thank you for the trouble. Lu Chongqing responded warmly upon hearing this. Having stayed in the Red Leaf Valley market for half a year previously, Xiaofan was already known to Lu Miaoge. Furthermore, with Lu Miaoge's intelligence, she surely realized that the relationship between the two was not simply about cultivation. Chongqing, has Miss Xiao successfully reached foundation establishment? Lu Miaoge inquired. From some information previously mentioned by Lu Chongqing, she knew about Xiaofan's attempt at foundation establishment. But Xiaofan was reticent in nature, and since Lu Miaoge was not one to talk much either, even if they had interacted, they did not really chat. Yes, she has successfully reached foundation establishment, but she still needs some of my help for her subsequent cultivation, which is why she has come over again, Lu Chongqing explained. Foundation establishment. Lu Miaoge's face showed a trace of envy and yearning upon hearing of Xiaofan's successful foundation establishment. As a child of a cultivating family, raised from an early age to aim for foundation establishment, achieving it was the dream of all of them. However, most of them gradually realized that foundation establishment was too far out of reach. Lu Miaoge was aware that even though there was a slight chance of reaching foundation establishment, it was very slim. Sister Miaoge, I have a gift for you, Lu Chongqing, seeing the expression in Lu Miaoge's eyes, knew well how her heart was set on cultivation and dreamt of breaking through to foundation establishment one day. He then took out a porcelain bottle from his storage bag. A gift. Lu Miaoge said with a smile as she took the porcelain bottle to examine it. Is this 3 Suns elixir? Looking at the elixir inside the bottle, Lu Miaoge showed a look of surprise and doubt. That's right, it is indeed the 3 Suns elixir, also known as the Minor Foundation Establishment elixir. Sister Miaoge, taking this 3 Suns elixir should allow you to break through directly from the 8th level of energy refinement to the 9th level, Lu Chongqing said with a smile. He had also prepared a foundation establishment elixir for Lu Miaoge, so there was no need to wait until chi refinement reached perfection before taking this elixir. Taking it now would yield the same effect. You should keep this 3 Suns elixir for yourself, Lu Miaoge said with a gentle smile, her lovely and graceful appearance particularly charming. Although she didn't know where Lu Chongqing had acquired this 3 Suns elixir, she was aware of its preciousness. If put on the market, one pill would be worth at least 3,000 to 4,000 spirit stones. Even though she was a top-level talisman master, she couldn't afford such a valuable elixir. After all, not all talisman masters were like Lu Chongqing, possessing a 100% success rate in talisman making. Moreover, she didn't need to spend spirit stones on materials for practicing talisman making. I have already taken one, and this one is specifically for you, Sister Miaoge, Lu Chongqing said with a smile. He had guessed that Lu Miaoge would refuse, so he had prepared his response. This. Chongqing, thank you, Lu Miaoge said, gazing into Lu Chongqing's eyes that shimmered with tenderness, and she didn't refuse any further. Between husband and wife, there is no need for thanks, Lu Chongqing chuckled and continued. If Sister Miaoge plans to enter closed-door cultivation after taking the elixir, I can manage the shop. Father and Qing Zhu, Qing Shan have all come here. Let's talk about it later, Lu Miaoge said softly. As she spoke, it seemed she remembered something and added, Oh right, your good friend Li Feiyu came by earlier, but he didn't wait for you to return, so he left some things for me to give to you. Things. Lu Chongqing was somewhat surprised to hear this. In a little while, Lu Miaoge took out a storage bag from the room and handed it to Lu Chongqing. Lu Chongqing opened the storage bag and saw that it contained a pile of spirit stones. Almost 200 spirit stones. There was also a letter. He opened the letter to read it. Sigh. After reading the letter, Lu Chongqing let out a light breath. The letter was a farewell. It mentioned that he had made arrangements with someone to head to Azure Phoenix Immortal City, so he wouldn't wait any longer for Lu Chongqing. They would catch up and chat some other time. The 200 spirit stones were his current spare stones, so he wanted to pay back a portion first. As for the remaining spirit stones, he would repay them after coming back from Azure Phoenix Immortal City next time. He also told Lu Chongqing not to worry, as he would return when he had time. Then, the letter mentioned some trivial matters and his own insights into the cultivation world. Feiyu is still the same old Feiyu, not willing to owe even a little. Lu Chongqing sighed and shook his head. He wasn't in need of these 200 spirit stones at all right now. But these 200 spirit stones were probably all that Li Feiyu could offer at the moment. Chongqing, Lu Miaoge also knew that Li Feiyu was one of Lu Changsheng's few close friends. They had come to the Lu family together and shared a deep friendship. "I'm fine, just feeling a bit emotional." Lu Chongqing shook his head slightly, not hiding the matter of Li Feiyu from his wife. Sometimes, having someone close to talk and confide in could make one feel much better. Since he was harboring many secrets, he would not hide ordinary matters from his wife. "Sister Miaoge, it's getting late." After talking for a long time, Lu Chongqing, gazing at his wife's soft, beautiful, and stunning countenance, suddenly spoke. Immediately, he supported his lovely wife's slender shoulder and captured her full, moist, soft lips, extracting sweetness. Let's go to the room." Lu Miaoge didn't expect that while they were having a good conversation, her husband would suddenly turn romantic. Her eyelashes quivered slightly, then her arms encircled her husband's neck, and she gasped, speaking in short breaths. Chapter 351. You Are All My Wings, Superior Spiritual Root. _1. Absence makes the heart grow fonder. After a night of jubilant celebration with Lu Miaoge, Lu Chongqing headed to the cave-dwelling area early the next morning. "Xiyu, it's me, open the door." Arriving at the entrance of a cave dwelling, Lu Chongqing took out the transmission talisman he shared with Xiaofan. After a short while, the cave dwelling's protective enchantment was lifted. In a moon-white dress, with a countenance both cold and immaculate, Xiaofan appeared, as if she were a fairy from the Moon Palace. Chongqing. Upon seeing Lu Chongqing, the coldness on her face instantly melted away like ice and snow, revealing a smile. "Have you missed me these days?" Lu Chongqing naturally took hold of Xiaofan's soft, slippery, slender pale hand with a warm voice. After walking into the cave dwelling, he immediately drew the beauty into his embrace. The familiar rich and refreshing fragrance filled his nostrils, delightfully refreshing to the soul. Even though they were already very intimate, the fact that they hadn't seen each other for half a year and now Lu Chongqing was being so affectionate upon their reunion still made Xiaofan's cheeks flush red. However, his actions and soft words didn't repulse her. On the contrary, they made her heart, which was supposed to be aloof from worldly emotions, tremble. She didn't suppress her feelings, and with slightly trembling beautiful eyes, she whispered softly, "I did. Xiyu misses me, and I have also been constantly thinking of Xiyu." Lu Chongqing said, holding the warm and fragrant beauty in his embrace, whispering in her ear. Upon hearing this, waves of sweetness surged in Xiaofan's heart. But she was no naive girl to be easily deceived. Her beautiful eyes rippled like water, and with a charming smile she said, "Humph, sweet talker, with so many wives and concubines at home, you couldn't possibly remember me." "Xiyu, are you jealous? You are all my wings. How could I forget you? I've come to see you as soon as I had time." Lu Chongqing smiled and said no more on the subject, speaking softly, "Xiyu, let me see how your Tao foundation is doing." Xiaofan couldn't help but let out a soft moan from her nose and slowly closed her beautiful eyes. With rustling sounds, her two long and straight legs tensed up. Wrapped in moon-white silk stockings, her snow-white jade feet, with 10 crystal-clear toes, unconsciously curled up. After a long while. Afterwards, Xiaofan refined the yin-yang energies and solidified her Tao foundation. She said gently, nestling in Lu Changsheng's embrace, "Chongqing, I've heard some news inside the sect. Meng Yibai, the grandson of immortal Meng, the one we encountered in the Qingyun market before, he's dead," Xiaofan revealed. Meng Yibai was not just the grandson of a false core immortal. He was also a core disciple of the Qingyun sect. Even within an immortal sect like Qingyun, foundation establishment cultivators were extremely precious and considered a central force. Furthermore, Meng Yibai was no ordinary foundation establishment cultivator. Now fallen outside, his death was no small news within the Qingyun sect. Meng Yibai. Lu Chongqing was caressing a ripe and plump softness as full as the full moon, and upon hearing these words, he raised an eyebrow. Xiaofan must have guessed that he was involved in the news since she had told him about it. He didn't choose to hide it and chuckled lightly. After I left the marketplace, he inexplicably pursued me intending to kill, so I had no choice but to slay him. Xiaofan showed no sign of surprise upon hearing this. Just as Lu Chongqing had guessed, when she heard the news, she had a vague feeling that it concerned him. Especially after understanding the general situation and who Meng Yibai was, she was almost certain that Meng Yibai had died at the hands of Lu Chongqing. Although she didn't know how Lu Chongqing, who had just broken through to Foundation Establishment, managed to kill Meng Yibai, who was in the mid-stages of Foundation Establishment, the Yin-Yang Five Elements Foundation base and his past performance of slaying the man in the red robe made his image in her heart loom large and grand. She felt that although the event was shocking, it was within reason. After all, the man Xiaofan fancied was never that simple. Chongqing, although Immortal Meng did not bring the investigation to you, I found out she went to Qingyun Market to inquire, and it's very possible she will target us. She refrains from questioning me only because she considers my master's position. As far as I know, Immortal Meng was very fond of her grandson Meng Yibai and won't let this matter rest. She will continue investigating. I've come down from the mountain in disguise, concealing my identity. You should also be careful in the future. Xiaofan said softly, still nestled in Lu Changsheng's embrace. Having guessed that it was Lu Chongqing who committed the act, she naturally went to understand the situation. Knowing that Lady Meng had immediately left the Qingyun sect to investigate after Meng Yibai's death and had gone to Qingyun Market, it was possible that she and Lu Chongqing could end up on the suspect list. Moreover, cultivators don't always rely on evidence when they take action. Especially when there is a power disparity between the parties, evidence is even less likely to come into play. Being the disciple of a core formation master, she herself was not worried. However, if Lu Chongqing were to be targeted, he could face danger and trouble. This was why she revealed the situation to Lu Chongqing. All right, I'll be careful, Lu Chongqing said, his eyes narrowing slightly in acknowledgement. True, he had refined the resentful wraith threads, preventing the false core immortal from tracking him down. But the place where he had killed Meng Yibai was not far from Qingyun Marketplace. If the Qingyun sect were to investigate, they might be able to uncover some clues. After all, the cultivation world was full of various means, and such matters were unpredictable. Shiyu, what about the Qingyun sect? How have they reacted to Meng Yibai's death? Lu Chongqing inquired. He wanted to know how the Qingyun sect typically dealt with such situations. The sect has ordered the punishment hall to investigate, Xiaofan responded. Chapter 352. You are all my wings, superior spiritual root. But even Master Meng himself hasn't been able to find any related information, and the punishment hall was merely going through the motions. Xiaofan said softly, shaking her head. The death of a core disciple, although it enraged the Qingyun sect, was not enough to wage a full-scale war. All right. Lu Chongqing nodded in agreement. Now that almost half a year had passed without any movement from Qingyun sect or that Master Meng, it indicated that this matter was currently not traced back to himself. However, since that Master Meng had lost a grandson, he was certain not to give up easily, so he still needed to be cautious and vigilant. In the very least, several spiritual artifacts, the Earth Spirit Mouse, the Pet Egg, and that talisman treasure on Meng Yibai's person couldn't be exposed carelessly. If they were to be revealed or sold openly, it might catch the attention of Qingyun sect, or perhaps that Master Meng. The two chatted and after a moment of affection, Lu Chongqing got up to leave. He had his wife and children to take care of and couldn't stay with Xiaofan all the time. This trip was also to check on Xiaofan and to repair her Dao foundation. In the blink of an eye, a month had passed. During these days, Lu Chongqing had been at the Red Leaf Valley Market. Every day he was making talismans, refining the 9-treasure jade rui, dual cultivating with Lu Miaoge while raising a child, and repairing Xiaoxia's Dao foundation. His life was indeed immensely fulfilling. With his foundation establishment now, the speed of refining the 9-treasure jade rui had also increased significantly. In at most 1 year's time, he would be able to completely refine this heaven-reaching spiritual treasure, integrate it into his body, and use it for the cultivation of the 100 refinements treasure body art. As the frequency of dual cultivation increased, Lu Chongqing also increasingly realized the importance of a robust body. But now, although his physique was good, Ordinary consorts were somewhat unable to withstand his powerful thrusting. It made Lu Chongqing feel that if his 100 refinements treasure body technique were to advance a few more levels, he wouldn't be able to enjoy intercourse to the fullest, and he would need to find a few female cultivators who were also body cultivators. About half a month ago, after Lu Miaoge took the Three Suns elixir, she smoothly broke through from the 8th level energy refinement to the 9th level. It was estimated that in about 5 or 6 years, she would reach the peak of energy refinement and be ready to attempt foundation establishment. While living a fulfilling life in the Red Leaf Valley market, Lu Chongqing did not forget his wives and concubines at home. After speaking with Lu Miaoge and Xiao Xie, he returned to Qingzhou Mountain. After all, his main base was still at Qingzhou Mountain. He also always remembered his initial resolve, firmly adhering to 2 principles of endeavor: properly nurture the children, properly father children. After returning to Qingzhou Mountain, Lu Chongqing learned that his efforts over the past half-month had led to his concubine Kuei Si becoming pregnant. To this, Lu Chongqing felt gratified in his heart. After asking after the well-being of his wives and children, he continued with his great endeavor of fathering children. After staying on Qingzhou Mountain for more than half a month and another maid becoming pregnant, Lu Chongqing rode the Iron Feather Eagle and headed for Rui Prefecture. One reason was to check on his wives and children. Another was to see the young girl Bai Ling. After all, it had been half a year since they last saw each other. He didn't want the young girl to forget him. Moreover, she could also try to start cultivating now. Upon arriving at Rui Prefecture, Lu Chongqing visited his home and then went to see where Bai Ling lived. Brother, Bai Ling was learning weaving with Granny Zhao. Seeing Lu Chongqing arrive, her little face immediately showed a look of delight as she trotted over. She was still dressed in that exquisite white Lucienne skirt. But to Lu Chongqing, looking at Bai Ling now, he felt that compared to half a year ago, she seemed to have gained a certain allure. Though allure was hardly suitable for a 12-year-old girl, it was the feeling that Lu Chongqing got. And he could clearly sense that it was not an illusion. She really had changed in that respect. This led Lu Chongqing to speculate that it must be related to Bai Ling's physical condition. After all, he had previously observed her eyes reflecting a ripple of the mental spirit, slightly absent-minded. Master! Granny Zhao, seeing Lu Chongqing, spoke respectfully. She knew that her current way of life was all thanks to the fortunes of Bai Ling. So she always presented herself with proper regard to her status, and routinely encouraged Bai Ling to keep Lu Chongqing in her thoughts. How has little Linger been doing lately? Lu Chongqing nodded and then, looking at the little lass in front of him, rubbed her hair tied in twin ponytails and asked warmly. Linger has been so happy lately. Not only do I have delicious food, but Wuyo, Sheila, and Rui also take me out to play. Bai Ling looked up happily, recounting the details of her life. Having not seen Lu Chongqing for half a year, she missed him deeply. Not only did Lu Chongqing save her, but he was also like a ray of light that gradually healed her scar-filled heart. Because of this, she felt a special affection for Lu Chongqing. Little Linger, do you remember brother once told you that you have a celestial fate? Lu Chongqing listened to Bai Ling's words. After chatting for a long time, he spoke. Brother, can Linger really cultivate? Bai Ling asked with bright eyes, full of hope at his words. Over the past half a year, although she mostly stayed at home, because of Lu Changsheng's instructions, people like Lu Wuyo, Lu Sheila, and Lu Rui would come to keep her company and play with her. Through this, she gained a bit of understanding about Lu Chongqing's celestial fate and cultivation. Therefore, she always anticipated that she truly had a celestial fate, so she could cultivate and stay by Lu Changsheng's side. Of course, how could brother deceive you? Lu Chongqing smiled and took Bai Ling towards the Lu residence. At the back courtyard of the Lu residence, he had set up a modest spirit-gathering array, whose spiritual energy was enough to facilitate the meditation of cultivators in the early to middle stages of energy refinement. Walking on the streets when passers-by went by, Lu Chongqing saw Bai Ling look somewhat timid, clutching his hand tightly. Chapter 353. You are all my wings, superior spiritual root. Clearly still suffering from social anxiety, she is shy with strangers. She understood that the other person appeared normal and natural only in front of her. Once she left home and faced strangers, her social anxiety would be triggered again. Lu Chongqing also knew that this was a psychological trauma. It was not something that could be completely healed in a short time. "It's okay, your brother is here." Lu Chongqing pinched her small hand and said to her gently, hum. While looking at Lu Changsheng's handsome and spirited face and listening to his words, Bai Ling felt as if a spring breeze was caressing her face, bringing a sense of peace and tranquility to her heart, dispelling her fears. They arrived at the backyard of the Lu residence where a small spirit gathering array was set up, and Lu Chongqing began to teach Bai Ling the returning origin technique. This cultivation technique was attributeless. Not only was it simple for beginners, but it also made it convenient to switch to other cultivation techniques later on. After Lu Changsheng's half-day of explanations, Bai Ling had understood the methods of cultivation. Through her efforts, she was able to sense nature's spiritual energy and started trying to draw it into her body. This spiritual energy is so harmonious. Lu Chongqing watched as Bai Ling sat cross-legged, her little face focused and serious as she absorbed nature's spiritual energy, a look of surprise in his eyes. As a foundation establishment cultivator, he could clearly detect the spiritual energy meandering through the air. And the speed at which Bai Ling was drawing the spiritual energy into her body was of a very high caliber. He watched over her quietly as she practiced her cultivation. "Brother, I did as you said, allowing the breath to flow through here, and then I held it here." After half an hour, Bai Ling opened her eyes and gestured with her hands as she spoke. Just half an hour to refine the first strand of spiritual energy, and this within the humble spirit-gathering array of the mortal world. Lu Chongqing was somewhat shocked. He still remembered that he, with only a 9th-grade spiritual root, had spent an entire night at Qingzhou Villa to cultivate his first strand of spiritual energy. So it seems that Bai Ling's spiritual root is at least of high quality. Or even if it isn't a high-quality spiritual root, her constitution may enable her to cultivate at a speed not inferior to those with high-quality spiritual roots. Lu Chongqing made a judgment in his mind. He had previously examined Bai Ling's body with his divine sense. But Bai Ling's condition was quite special. It made it impossible for him to discern the state of her body, or the quality of her spiritual root. He didn't even understand what was the deal with the snake scales on her hand. "Brother!" Bai Ling saw Lu Chongqing staring at her, lost in thought, and called out softly. She was worried that she had done something wrong and disappointed him. "No, it's nothing, little Linger. You did really well to achieve this so quickly." Lu Chongqing came back to his senses, ruffled her little head, and said with a warm smile, "Hee." Bai Ling, hearing his words, immediately showed a happy and contented smile. "Should I take Bai Ling to Qingzhou Mountain?" Lu Chongqing pondered internally. In the mundane world, although there was the small spirit-gathering array, it wouldn't affect early-stage cultivation. But it still couldn't compare to Qingzhou Mountain. Moreover, taking Bai Ling to Qingzhou Mountain would make it easier for him to monitor her condition and cultivate their relationship. After thinking it over briefly, Lu Chongqing decided to take Bai Ling back to Qingzhou Mountain. It was ultimately somewhat inconvenient in the mundane world. Furthermore, given Bai Ling's condition, she would have to be taken to Qingzhou Mountain sooner or later. It might as well be now. Besides, Bai Ling's rate of cultivation suggested she had at least a high-quality spiritual root, which made him uneasy about leaving her in the mundane world. Even though the mundane world would not have any powerful cultivators, one must always guard against the unexpected. What if a powerful cultivator happened to pass by, saw Bai Ling's unusual talents, and took her away? At Qingzhou Mountain, at least, it would be much safer. If only I had my own spiritual land, my own home, things would be so much more convenient and stable. I wouldn't need to be so busy all the time, running from place to place. Lu Chongqing suddenly thought. If he had his own spiritual land, situations like Bai Ling's would be much more manageable. Xiaofan wouldn't need to live in the Red Leaf Valley Market all the time. And for offsprings without spiritual roots like Lu Pingon, once they reached adulthood, they could live in a small village or a small town on the spiritual land. Indeed, at a certain point, one really does need a home of their own, Lu Chongqing sighed inwardly. He then informed Bai Ling that he was preparing to take her to another home of his. Upon hearing this, Bai Ling was also very happy. It was just that she felt a bit reluctant to leave the few friends she had just made, Lu Wuyo, Lu Shila, and Lu Rui. After all, when she was in the village, she had always been despised, labeled a monster, and never had any friends. Now that she had finally made a few, the prospect of parting and not seeing them for a long time saddened her. It's okay, brother will come to visit them when I have time, and I can bring you along then, Lu Chongqing ruffled the little girl's head and said with a smile. He hadn't expected that in only half a year, Bai Ling would have formed a friendship with his daughters. After living at home for a little less than half a month, Lu Chongqing took Bai Ling and Granny Zhao to Qingzhou Mountain. Bai Ling had severe social anxiety and lacked a sense of security. Taking her to Qingzhou Mountain when he was not around would surely make her feel insecure, but Granny Zhao's presence would make it much better. Chapter 354. Chongqing, are you willing to join the Qingyun sect? _1. 3 days later, a spirit boat descended outside Qingzhou Mountain. Lu Chongqing brought Bai Ling and Granny Zhao into Qingzhou Mountain. Now as an elder of the Lu family, taking 2 people into Qingzhou Valley was naturally a piece of cake. He merely had to explain the situation briefly. No need to register and report as before. Husband, who are these 2? Lu Miaoyun asked as she looked at Bai Ling, who was holding Lu Changsheng's hand with a timid expression on her face. In the past, Lu Chongqing often brought women home. But in recent years, he hardly ever brought anyone home from outside. Seeing Bai Ling's demeanor, she even thought it was a daughter Lu Chongqing had outside. After all, with so many maids in her husband's household, it made sense for some children to be scattered outside that she had never met. Yuner, this is Bai Ling. Lu Chongqing began to explain Bai Ling's situation to Lu Miaoyun. But he didn't go into detail. He simply said that he passed by a village and rescued Bai Ling, discovering that Bai Ling had a spiritual root and was not lacking in talent. He brought her back to Qingzhou Mountain. Lu Miaoyun, being very perceptive and having been Lu Changsheng's wife for many years, immediately picked up on the implications of his words. Knowing that Bai Ling could receive such attention from her own husband, she must be extraordinary. Perhaps when she grew up, she might even become part of the family as a younger sister. She then promptly settled Bai Ling and Granny Zhao down in the manor for care. 3 days later, Lu Yuanding came looking for Lu Chongqing. He told him that the auction held by the 4 major families at Red Leaf Valley Market was starting in 3 months. The Lu family would provide a batch of high-quality talisman materials. The Bai family would put out a batch of high-quality spirit birds. The Yu and Zheng families would also bring out a batch of high-quality resources. Moreover, the 4 major families had also invited other families, forces, and loose cultivators to the auction. Father-in-law, these are the supreme talismans I've prepared. They are all premium talismans. Lu Yuanding had already discussed the matter with him, so Lu Chongqing immediately knew his intention and took out a stack of supreme talismans. These talismans were considered premium among the supreme talismans, rare talismans. Very good, Chongqing, you've worked hard, said Lu Yuanding, looking at the talismans with a satisfied smile. Patted Lu Chongqing on the shoulder and added, rest assured, the family will compensate you for these talismans according to your contribution. I am now an elder of the family. It's only right for me to make some contributions to the family, Lu Chongqing said with a smile. First-grade supreme talismans and second-rank talismans are very rare for ordinary cultivators. Usually, they would need to reserve or scramble to buy them. But to him, they were just a matter of a few spirit stones in cost. Lu Yuanding was deeply touched when he heard this. After all, in his eyes, although Lu Chongqing was proficient in the talisman path, he was still a first-grade talisman master. He had not yet advanced to a second-grade talisman master. It must not have been easy to create so many premium supreme talismans. It certainly took a lot of time and effort. He might even have made a loss while making these talismans. He felt moved as he looked towards Lu Chongqing and said, Chongqing, I heard from Yaoga that she was able to break through to the 9th level energy refinement because you gave her an elixir medicine. It's a good intention, and I as a father am delighted about it, but you should consider your own situation more. With so many wives and children depending on you at home, the expenses are already large. Don't be wasteful like that in the future. Lu Yuanding said to Lu Chongqing earnestly. Originally, he was quite unhappy that Lu Chongqing married 2 of his daughters at once. But over time, seeing that Lu Chongqing treated both of his daughters well, and did not treat his own daughter as a mere breeding tool, his unhappiness gradually faded away. He began to treat Lu Chongqing as a son. So he also hoped that Lu Chongqing could cultivate properly, not to waste resources and hinder himself. He had also heard about Lu Changsheng's way of raising children. As soon as a child was detected with a spiritual root, he would buy elixir medicines that solidified their foundation and cultivated their essence. All wives and children regularly consumed spirit rice and spirit food. This made him shake his head involuntarily. Even though Lu Changsheng was a talisman master, with a rewarded 100 acres of spirit field by the family, a spiritual talisman shop in Red Leaf Valley Market, and a cave dwelling, his finances wouldn't hold up with such expenditures. Changsheng understands that elixir medicine was obtained coincidentally, and since I don't have a use for it right now, I gave it to Sister Miaoga, Lu Changsheng said, smiling. Lu Changsheng replied with a smile. It's good to have that intention, but still, your cultivation level should be the priority. Once you advance to 2nd grade talisman master, save up more spirit stones. Maybe then you can go to Immortal City and try to purchase a foundation establishment elixir to attempt foundation establishment, Lu Yuanding said. He certainly knew about Lu Changsheng's breakthrough to the energy refinement late stage. Breaking through to the energy refinement late stage in his 30s, even with a 9th grade spiritual root, there was a hope of attempting foundation establishment. Although this hope was extremely slim. But at least there was a slim chance. Father-in-law, you know that I'm not a man of great ambition, so I'm not interested in the elusive prospect of foundation establishment. Rather than spending so many spirit stones on a slim chance of foundation establishment, I'd rather spend them on the children. Maybe one of these children will be able to reach foundation establishment in the future. Lu Changsheng grinned and said. He naturally knew that Lu Yuanding meant well, trying to comfort him. Spending all the spirit stones on his wives and children would burden himself. But there was no way he could be candid about these matters, so he continued to maintain his stance. Sigh, as long as you're aware of it, that's fine, Lu Yuanding replied, giving up on persuading further. He then changed the topic, saying, time flies so fast, in 2 more years, Qing Shan and Qing Zhu will also be of age to test for their spiritual roots. I think Qing Shan is quite bright. He should have a spiritual root, and a good one at that. Chapter 355. Changsheng, are you willing to join the Qingyun sect? Lu Changsheng responded with a laugh. Among all his children at the moment, only Lu Qingshan was the one he had high hopes for. Not only did he possess a middle-grade spiritual root, but he also had a Gongjin body constitution. He was truly someone with a promising future. Sister Miaoga has a 5th-grade spiritual root, so Qingzhu's spiritual root should also be quite good, Lu Changsheng added. Although his son was indeed formidable, he couldn't forget his darling daughter. Especially in front of his father-in-law. Hee. Upon hearing this, Lu Yuanding also revealed a smile. But there was still a trace of worry in his eyes. After all, it was common for children not to inherit spiritual roots even if both parents had them. In the blink of an eye, more than a month had passed. During this period, Lu Changsheng had 3 more children. It's worth mentioning that Bai Ling had completed qi refinement and broke through to the first layer 5 days earlier. In just over a month, without relying on any elixir medicines, she made a breakthrough, which surprised Lu Changsheng. He couldn't help but lament that sometimes the difference in talent between people was even greater than that between humans and orangutans. At the same time, his expectations for Bai Ling's future grew even more. Inside the practice room, another drop of liquid mana has been condensed. Lu Changsheng, who was sitting cross-legged, opened his eyes and exhaled softly. My cultivation involves either dual cultivation or popping pills. It feels like I'm taking shortcuts. But with the 7 luminaries heart lamp burning mana and purging elixir toxicity, solidifying the foundation, my mana is quite orthodox and upright, so it's not really a crooked path, Lu Changsheng contemplated as he looked at the liquid mana in his Dan lake and shook his head. After leaving the practice room and informing his wives and concubines, he prepared to head to the Red Leaf Valley Market. He had been at home for quite a while now and needed to transfer the yin-yang energies to Xiaofan as well. Since there was just over a month left until the auction held by the Red Leaf Valley Market began, Lu Miaohuan, Lu Miaoyun, and others also expressed a desire to go and have a look. I have some matters to take care of this trip. I'll come back to pick you all up later, Lu Changsheng said immediately upon hearing his wife's words. After reassuring his family, he rode the Iron Feather Eagle to the Red Leaf Valley Market. Walking through the market, Lu Chongqing noticed a significant increase in the number of people. On the streets, there were also more patrolling enforcers from the 4 major families. This was clearly due to the upcoming auction. If at this time, some demon cultivator or heretic cultivator decided to cause trouble, I'm afraid the market might not recover for 3 to 5 years. But with the patriarch of the Yu family presiding over the event and the ancestors of the 4 major families coming, I doubt anyone will make a scene, Lu Chongqing thought to himself. He also knew that running a marketplace was not simple. Upon arrival at his Peace Talisman Hall, he inquired about the overall situation of the shop from Gao He and looked over the accounts. Aside from the supreme talismans he supplied himself, the shop made a profit of roughly 200 spirit stones a month from selling and purchasing low-grade talismans and materials like talisman paper and spiritual ink. This amount was not much, but it was acceptable. If including the 3 supreme talismans he provided each month, it was about 800 spirit stones. While chatting with Gao He, upon learning that his supreme talismans were in demand and had a good reputation, Lu Chongqing thought for a moment and increased the monthly allocation from 3 to 5. It wasn't that he didn't want to earn more money. It was that his talismans were indeed limited. Every time he went into seclusion or was busy, there was no time for talisman making. He could only consume his inventory. Moreover, he had to provide a batch of talismans to the Lu family each month. If he supplied his shop with a large quantity of talismans while also providing for the Lu family, it would seem like his success rate in talisman making was too high. So, he had to take it slow. Once he revealed himself as a second-grade talisman master, he would gradually increase the number of supreme talismans. After looking over the accounts and knowing that his shop was on the right track and profitable, Lu Chongqing didn't inquire or worry too much. He planned to throw his children into the shop in a few years for their own experience. Afterward, Lu Chongqing visited the Lu family's spiritual talisman shop, chatted, and dual cultivated with his wife Lu Miaoga to deepen their affection. After spending time with Lu Miaoga, Lu Chongqing went to visit Xiaofan in their dwelling. Among all his wives and concubines, it was only with Xiaofan that dual cultivation was most delightful and effective. And with his help of yin-yang energies, Xiaofan's Dao foundation finally showed some improvement. They could see that the cracks and crevices in her Dao foundation were beginning to heal slightly. Lu Chongqing and Xiaofan estimated that about 30 more sessions were needed to completely repair the damage. Afterward, Shi Yu, in some time, the Red Leaf Valley Market is going to hold an auction event. Take these talismans and put them up for auction. Lu Chongqing, holding Xiaofan, took out a stack of second-rank talismans from his storage bag. He didn't have many spirit stones, just over 6,000, all of which he had acquired from Meng Yi Bai. But spirit stones get used up so quickly. With the auction ahead, Lu Chongqing planned to use this opportunity to sell a batch of talismans. After all, his second-ranked talismans were not easy to sell in the Red Leaf Valley Market. In other large marketplaces, they could only be sold at a discount. Definitely not as good as at an auction event. Second-ranked talismans? Xiaofan was surprised to see Lu Chongqing take out a stack of about 20 talismans. She then asked, "Chongqing, did you draw these talismans yourself, or?" She was aware that Lu Chongqing was a talisman master, but she didn't know the extent of his talisman-making skill. Only during their decade-long agreement had Hong Yi mentioned that Lu Chongqing was a top-grade talisman master. But this sudden appearance of so many talismans made her feel as if Lu Chongqing had drawn them himself. Chapter 356. Chongqing, are you willing to join the Qingyun sect? Part of it was drawn by myself, and some were gifts from kind-hearted people, Lu Chongqing opened his mouth to say. Reaching foundation establishment, the Yin-Yang 5 Elements foundation base, Xiaofan knew about these things, and he didn't mind revealing a bit more about other aspects. After all, he, Lu Chongqing, was not really living off a woman. Since he intended to bring his girl home, it was natural to show some of his own strength and charm. Chongqing, your talisman-making skills have reached the second rank. Xiaofan heard this, her stunning face showing surprise and astonishment. The outer sect disciples of Qingyun sect all had to learn the 100 skills of cultivation. The inner sect disciples and core disciples could choose to learn. Therefore, she knew very well how difficult it was to advance one of the cultivation skills to the second rank. In Qingyun's sect, These outer sect disciples had to spend decades to possibly advance a skill to the second rank. And yet, in just over a decade, not only had Lu Changsheng's cultivation level broken through to foundation establishment, but he had also become a second-grade talisman master, which was truly astounding. One must know that every cultivator's energy is limited. Spreading one's energy to learn other skills would inevitably delay their cultivation progress. This is why in Qingyun's sect, only the outer sect disciples are required to learn the 100 skills of cultivation, while inner sect disciples can choose themselves. But a second-grade talisman master only. Is it worth such a big fuss from you, Shiyu? Lu Chongqing looked at Xiao Xia's surprised expression, chuckled lightly, and spoke with a relaxed and indifferent tone. In his heart, he still felt a bit smug. There is a saying, wealth and honor unacknowledged is like walking in brocade at night. Even after many years of cultivation, Lu Chongqing still felt he was a common man. Not only did he still like young and beautiful fairies, but he also harbored the desire to show off in front of others. Unfortunately, conditions did not permit. To be prudent and to survive, he had to keep all that hidden. Now, he could only reveal a little in front of Xiao Xia. Shiyu is just surprised that you, Lu Lang, have such astonishing talent in talisman making. Xiao Xia smiled, her beautiful eyes somewhat infatuated as she looked at Lu Chongqing. In this survival of the fittest cultivation world, many people are influenced to admire the strong. And Lu Chongqing was already the man she favored. Seeing her beloved's excellence made her feel even more extraordinary. I also broke through to the second rank on the talisman path after my divine sense greatly increased following my foundation establishment breakthrough. Lu Chongqing did not get carried away, laughingly shook his head as he spoke. Although this was a white lie, divine sense was indeed helpful for talisman making. Or rather, with divine sense, doing anything became much more convenient. A foundation establishment great cultivator who is willing to spend the time to study the 100 skills of cultivation will be several times, even dozens of times better than an ordinary cultivator. But this also shows your innate talent in this area, Chongqing. Xiao Xia's eyes curved like crescent moons as she spoke. After speaking, she seemed to think of something and asked aloud, "By the way, Chongqing, what are your future plans?" Plans. Lu Chongqing hadn't expected Xiao Xia to suddenly ask about this matter. He pondered for a moment. "I'm not a man of great ambition, actually. To have come this far is also because I had some good fortune and opportunities. If I had to say, I plan to find a spiritual vein and establish my own cultivation family once the children are grown." Lu Chongqing spoke out loud. Finding a spiritual vein and establishing a family. Xiao Xia heard this and nodded thoughtfully. She also knew that Lu Chongqing liked children and had many of them. Planning to establish his own family in the future also made sense. Chongqing, to establish a family, you first need a spiritual vein. At present, most of the spiritual lands in Jiang country have been occupied, unless one heads to the Great Dream Marsh, the Myriad Beasts mountain range, or the bitter, cold frontier lands of other countries. Have you considered joining the Qingyun sect? Xiao Xia asked aloud. She had just heard that Lu Chongqing possessed the skills of a second-grade talisman master, and wanted to invite him to join the Qingyun sect. It wasn't for the sake of Qingyun sect's recruitment. She simply thought that now that Lu Chongqing had established his foundation, he could consider moving to a better environment. And in Jiang country, as one of the 3 great immortal sects under the hegemony of the Heavenly Sword sect, the Qingyun sect naturally counted as a promising destination. Join the Qingyun sect? Upon hearing this, Lu Chongqing raised an eyebrow. That's right, Chongqing. With your second-grade talisman master skills, you could enter Qingyun sect through the route of a guest elder position. Moreover, the Qingyun sect has many spiritual vein-blessed lands for rent or sale. As long as you join the Qingyun sect, with a certain number of years and contributions, I could also look for an opportunity to request my master to arrange a top-quality spiritual land for you. Xiao Xia spoke softly. To join the Qingyun sect, is second-rank skills all that's required? Lu Chongqing asked upon hearing her words. He wasn't averse to joining the Qingyun sect. After all, it was good to lean on a strong tree for shelter. If he were to join the Qingyun sect, having the Qingyun sect as a supportive backdrop would certainly make his actions much more convenient and secure. Previously, at the Qingyun Commerce Guild, He had heard about entering the Qingyun sect through the channel of demonstrating skills. He had not expected Xiaofan to bring it up as well. Furthermore, her mention of using the Qingyun sect's connections to secure a top-quality spiritual land for himself was particularly enticing. After all, he had previously paid attention to spiritual lands and knew that obtaining a decent spirit vein-blessed land was difficult. Seeking one through affiliation with an immortal sect, renting, or purchasing was a relatively good approach. Of course not. Second-rank skills are merely a threshold. Every 3 years, Qingyun sect holds a 100 skills conference. This conference is aimed at recruiting array masters, alchemists, artifact refiners, talisman masters. Anyone who passes the assessment can enter the Qingyun sect to become a guest elder. However, I believe that as long as you, Lu Lang, are willing, with your talent in the talisman path, you will certainly pass the assessment when the time comes. Xiaofan said with a smile. I see. Lu Chongqing nodded upon hearing this. He hadn't expected Qingyun sect to recruit talents in this manner. It made him wonder if the recommendation from Qingyun Commerce Guild previously was meant for this 100 skills conference. Speaking of which, I heard before that the Qingyun Commerce Guild can recommend people to join the Qingyun sect. Is it for this 100 skills conference? Lu Chongqing inquired. Correct. Although Qingyun sect is open to recruiting talents, it cannot possibly accept just anyone. One must have an unsullied background. Hence there's this level of selection. Either become a guest elder under the Qingyun sect's influence and pass multiple assessments, or have a Qingyun sect's elder's recommendation as a guarantee. If you are willing, Lu Lang, I can take care of this recommendation spot for you. Xiaofan said aloud. There's no rush for this. Currently, it's not appropriate for me to reveal my achievements in the talisman path. And it also isn't convenient to reveal my cultivation level, so if I want to enter the Qingyun sect relying on talisman making, I'll have to wait a few more years. After pondering for a moment, Lu Chongqing said as much. MHM. Xiaofan understood this rationale and nodded with a smile. So far, Lu Chongqing had been assisting her, and she wanted to be of help to him as well. Thinking about her preparations before descending the mountain this time, her cheeks blushed slightly. Chapter 357. The World Spirit Plant, the Luminous Treasure Tree. _1. Lu Chongqing and Xiaofan, after disguising themselves, assumed new identities to attend the auction held at Red Leaf Valley Market. Although the auction would not start for another month, these 3 months were also a period for warming up. They not only invited major powers to participate but also welcomed loose cultivators with precious materials and treasures to come for appraisal and auction. Many loose cultivators might acquire some treasures with which they were unfamiliar and had to spend spirit stones to seek appraisers for authentication. And to attract more people, the 4 great families invited several appraisers to reside at the auction venue, offering free authentication services. I have seen the 2 seniors. What brings the 2 seniors here? To appraise treasures or to auction? As soon as Lu Chongqing and Xiaofan entered the auction venue, the person in charge who was inside felt a tremor throughout his body, hurried forward, and revealed a respectful and flattering demeanor. The reason was simple. Xiaofan didn't hold back her aura, displaying a hint of foundation establishment energy. In the world of cultivation, often, just revealing a bit of one's strength could make many tasks much more convenient. Both. Xiaofan said in an even tone. Her voice also underwent a slight change, becoming colder and more noble. The 2 seniors. Please come up to the 2nd floor. The person in charge extremely reverently bowed and led the 2 to the 3rd floor of the venue. The loose cultivators waiting in line for treasure appraisal, upon seeing this scene, didn't think that the 2 had jumped the queue or that there was anything inappropriate in the behavior of the person in charge. Instead, they all looked on with respect, admiration, envy, and curiosity at Lu Chongqing and Xiaofan. The environment on the 2nd floor was particularly elegant. Lu Chongqing and Xiaofan were shown to a private room and had just taken their seats when a middle-aged man, adorned in splendid attire, hurried over. His face was scholarly, and he wore a blue magical robe emblazoned with flowing spiritual light. Upon seeing the 2, he bowed, saying, I have seen the 2 seniors. I am Yu Zhengguang, humbly in charge of this auction venue and also an appraiser. May I inquire about what the 2 seniors wish to auction or have appraised? One needed to verify their identity upon entering the marketplace and procure an identity token. If a foundation establishment great cultivator came by, the marketplace would of course receive them with the utmost courtesy. But the foundation establishment great cultivators who had recently entered the marketplace did not include the two present. Thus, he knew the two did not wish to reveal their identities and dared not inquire further. After all, for an unknown foundation establishment great cultivator, one must adopt the correct attitude. Take a look at these talismans. Xiaofan took out a stack of talismans and gently placed them on the table. Talismans. Yu Zhengguang carefully took the talismans, examined them for a moment, and then looked back at Xiaofan with an added depth of reverence in his eyes. Seniors, these talismans are all second-rank low-grade, but I can see that they are all premium talismans. May I know if the seniors wish to auction or directly sell them? Yu Zhengguang asked respectfully and politely. Auction. Xiaofan said calmly. No problem. I will arrange it right away for the seniors. However, there is some time before the auction starts. Do the seniors wish to store the talismans with our auction house until then, or? Yu Zhengguang asked. I will come over when the time comes. Xiaofan said calmly. Very well, when the seniors arrive, you can present this token, and I will immediately make the necessary arrangements, Yu Zhengguang said, taking out a token. Do you recognize what kind of demon beast egg this is? At that moment, Lu Chongqing took a pale aqua egg from his storage bag, placed it on the table, and inquired. It was indeed the pet egg harvested from Meng Yibai's spiritual pet bag. With the sheer number of demon beasts, it was incredibly difficult to identify them through their eggs. After searching, Lu Chongqing couldn't find what kind of demon beast egg it was or how to hatch it. Now that there was an opportunity, he wanted to see if the other party knew. A demon beast egg? Yu Zhengguang looked at the demon beast egg in front of him. He then respectfully bowed, picked up the egg, and scrutinized it carefully. After examining it for a moment, his eyes shone with a golden light, evidently employing a type of visual art for identification. Seniors, please wait a moment while I confirm this, he said, bowing to Lu Chongqing and taking out a jade scroll from his storage bag to consult. After looking through a couple of jade scrolls, he finally spoke. Seniors, if I am not mistaken, this should be the egg of a green jade luan bird. A green jade luan bird? Upon hearing this, Lu Changsheng's eyebrows lifted. Yes, this is information about the demon beast, the green jade luan bird, Yu Zhengguang said, handing over the jade scroll to Lu Chongqing. The green jade luan bird. An earth-grade middle bloodline. It is rumored that the green jade luan bird has a trace of the Azure Phoenix True Spirit's bloodline, making it quite outstanding among earth-grade bloodlines. With proper nurturing, it could potentially become a third-rank demon king. Lu Chongqing looked at the jade scroll, which depicted a luan bird that resembled green jade in its entirety, strikingly beautiful, vivid, and full of an immortal aura. Below was a simple introduction about this green jade luan bird. But he did not see anything regarding the hatching and nurturing methods of the green jade luan bird. Do you know how to hatch and nurture this green jade luan bird? Lu Chongqing asked. His current mount was still the trash iron feather eagle. If he knew how to hatch and nurture the green jade luan bird, he might consider raising it. Setting aside its combat capabilities, the green jade luan bird was indeed pleasing to the eye. Senior, I do not know about the hatching and nurturing methods for this green jade luan bird. However, I have heard that the green jade luan bird is fond of the sky blue warm jade. You may try building a nest with sky blue warm jade in a place abundant with spiritual energy to incubate this demon beast egg. It might be helpful, Yu Zhengguang said with a wry smile. All right, thank you. Lu Chongqing nodded and put the pet egg away. He knew that the methods for hatching and nurturing demon beasts were often closely guarded secrets. Chapter 358. The World Spirit Plant, the Luminous Treasure Tree. Ordinary cultivators find it difficult to access. Even more so for a green jade luan bird, a demon beast of earth-grade bloodline, the method to hatch and rear one is even more precious. Senior, you are too kind, Yu Zhengguang said, looking flattered and surprised. Shortly after, Lu Chongqing casually inquired about the good items available at the auction. Facing the inquiry of a foundation establishment great cultivator, Yu Zhenguang did not dare to keep anything hidden and shared some information he knew. After listening, Lu Chongqing didn't show much interest. After chatting for a while, Lu Chongsheng and Xiao Xia stood up and left. If the two seniors encounter any issues in the marketplace, or if there are any small matters that require instructions, you can come and find our Yu family. Our Yu family, as the host of Red Leaf Valley Market. As Lu Chongqing and Xiao Xia were about to leave, Yu Zhenguang took out a jade token, offering it with a respectful and polite gesture. All right, Lu Chongqing said, with a light laugh, accepting the jade token. He naturally understood that the other party wanted to curry favor with both of them and establish a goodwill connection. After Lu Chongqing and Xiao Xia left, Yu Zhenguang exhaled deeply, saying with a solemn expression, even though that person didn't reveal any cultivation aura, he is very likely also a Foundation Establishment Great Cultivator. Two unknown Foundation Establishment Great Cultivators arriving at the marketplace. I must report this to the ancestors. Shiyu, you might as well keep this jade token. After walking out of the auction, Lu Chongqing tossed the jade token to Xiao Xia. He wasn't convenient to show his true identity in the marketplace, nor did he need this jade token. Holding this jade token, Xiao Xia might find it convenient at times. Xiao Xia tucked away the jade token, then said, Chongqing, regarding the hatching and cultivation method for the green jade luan bird, if you need it, I can later check in the sect. There's no hurry for this, look into it when you have time later. Lu Chongqing replied casually. At this moment, he also realized the benefits of belonging to a sect. Treasures and inherited knowledge that are difficult for ordinary cultivators to obtain are much simpler for disciples of immortal sects. By the way, I obtained this green jade luan bird's egg from Meng Yi Bai. So, if you're going to check this information, you might need to be a bit careful. Lu Chongqing reminded her. Although the chance of it being problematic was very small, it was still prudent to be a little cautious. After all, being noticed by a false core immortal would indeed be quite troublesome. Okay, I will be careful. Xiao Xia said, nodding slightly when she heard this. Considering they now had the additional identity of Foundation Establishment Great Cultivators, to make things convenient, Lu Chongqing and Xiao Xia rented a courtyard in the marketplace. They usually lived like a couple loose from worldly ties, residing in their little courtyard or occasionally strolling through the marketplace. Before long, more than half a month had passed. Does this child have a 7th grade spiritual root? One day, Lu Chongqing felt a profound and mysterious sensation. He knew it was the birth of a child with a spiritual root. Based on the timing, he guessed it should be Yun Qianqian's child in her womb. Thinking of Yun Qianqian, he inevitably thought of his former good friend from Nine Dragons Market, Yu Maoqing. After the previous incident involving the third young master of the Yu family's recruitment efforts, their relationship had also become somewhat strained. Later, without visiting Nine Dragons Market, they lost touch. Only Yun Qianqian occasionally corresponded with Yu Ningrong through letters. With only half a month left before the auction starts, I should head back. Lu Chongqing pondered. He had promised his wives that he would take them to the Red Leaf Valley Market to see the auction. Plus, he also needed to return and hold lessons for the Lu family disciples. He informed Xiao Xia and Lu Miaoge about this, and then Lu Chongqing set out for Qingzhou Mountain on his mount. Elder 9. Master Lu. Brother Chongqing. Brother-in-law Chongqing. Upon returning to Qingzhou Mountain, many of the Lu family members greeted Lu Chongqing and paid their respects as he passed by. In the face of this, Lu Chongqing still smiled amiably and nodded politely in return, without any air of superiority as an elder. After telling Uncle Fu about the teaching arrangements, Lu Chongqing returned to his own home. Upon learning of Yun Qianqian giving birth to a baby girl, Lu Chongqing also went to show his concern and visit. Although nowadays with so many children, he had become much more detached in this regard, he still fulfilled the basic duties of a husband and father. After staying at home for 10 days and handling some various household matters, Lu Chongqing piloted the spirit boat, taking Lu Miaohuan, Lu Miaoyun, and Chu Zhenjun to Red Leaf Valley Market. Now, as an elder of the Lu family, piloting a spirit boat wasn't conspicuous. Miaoqing, what are you doing here? Upon reaching the entrance to Red Leaf Valley Market, Lu Chongqing saw a familiar patrol member and called out in greeting. Chongqing. Hey, it's the first auction, so nothing can go wrong. That's why the family arranged for me to maintain order, Lu Miaoqing said casually, perking up instantly upon seeing Lu Chongsheng and spoke. Then he briefly greeted Lu Miaoyun, Lu Miaohuan, and Chu Zhenjin, and without further ado, he registered them and let them enter through a special passage. With the increased visitor traffic at Red Leaf Valley Market, a special passage was established to accommodate esteemed guests, bypassing identity verification. Once inside the market, Lu Chongqing first accompanied his wives for a leisurely time around the bustling marketplace. With the auction approaching, the visitor traffic in Red Leaf Valley Market had peaked, creating a lively atmosphere. Humph! Just then, as they were walking, the second miss suddenly let out a disdainful snort. A woman in a yellow dress coming from the opposite direction also glanced at Lu Chongqing and snorted disdainfully. Seeing this, Lu Chongqing was taken aback, unsure of what was happening. It took him a moment to remember that the woman was a direct daughter of the Zhang family, apparently named Wang Yongshan. Chapter 359. The World Spirit Plant, the Luminous Treasure Tree. She had some conflicts and grudges with the second miss. He never expected that after so many years, the two would still remember their hatred, which made him shake his head and laugh. So you are Lu Chongqing, the talisman master. I am Yu Ninghai, and I have seen Lu Daoist, he said. At this moment, a blue-clothed young man standing shoulder to shoulder with Zhang Yongshan smiled and came forward to greet Lu Chongqing with clasped hands. I have seen Yu Daoist. Upon hearing the name, Lu Chongqing knew that the man was from the Yu family of Bai Lake Mountain. He had also heard that the Zhang family was now lacking successors. They could hardly muster a newcomer for foundation establishment, let alone have many seeds for it. And the Zhang family ancestor had only a few decades of life left. Therefore, the Zhang family had connected with the Yu family, and there had been quite a few marriages between the two. The two just exchanged some simple pleasantries and then left with their female companions. Huaner still remembers the grudge. At this moment, Lu Chongqing looked at the second miss and teased her. Humph, what grudge could I remember? I don't hold grudges. The second miss, dressed in a finely made black gown, tall and graceful, lifted her delicate chin slightly when she heard Lu Chongqing's words. Since she became the mother of 2 children, she had been much more conservative in her dress. Although she still enjoyed buying little dresses, she would only wear them at home or when she was with Lu Chongqing. Hee. Did that person just now offend Huan's sister? Chu Zhenjin, who was standing aside, revealed a gossiping expression upon hearing this. Lu Chongqing laughed as he recounted the amusing incident. After accompanying his wife for half a day, Lu Chongqing then proceeded to the Lu family compound with everyone. Although he did not live here, he often visited the Red Leaf Valley Market and had a courtyard there. On the third day, Lu Yuanzhong, the Lu family ancestor, also visited the Red Leaf Valley Market. He brought along several top figures from the Lu family to inspect the conditions of the shops in their marketplace. As the 9th elder of the family, Lu Chongqing naturally joined them. During this inspection, Lu Chongqing gained a general understanding of some of the inns and restaurants owned by the Lu family. He could only say their profits were mediocre. If one desired higher income, it was the spiritual talisman shop that provided a more substantial revenue. This was also because the Lu family had several top-level first-grade talisman masters. Moreover, the paper talismans produced by the Lu family and their spirit ink had a good reputation. Congratulations to the host, the number of offspring with spiritual roots has reached 30, granting a lottery draw opportunity. Just then, a profound vibration accompanied by the system notification sound arose. Lu Chongqing knew that another child with a spiritual root had been born in his family. But after so many lottery draws, he was now undisturbed by such notifications and continued with the inspection with everyone else. After the inspection, Lu Chongqing returned to his quiet room and whispered, "System, draw the lottery." Immediately, the familiar lottery wheel emerged before his eyes. "Start the draw." With a small nudge from his mental spirit, a golden light quickly spun on the lottery wheel. Soon, the light stopped on treasure. Ding! Congratulations to the host for obtaining the luminous treasure tree. The reward has been dispatched to the system space. The host may check it at any time. Luminous treasure tree? A celestial spirit plant? Lu Chongqing raised an eyebrow as he looked at the reward he had drawn. He had previously thought that he would only find spirit plants in the pet section when he drew the six-winged golden silkworm. That's right. Some plants and spirit plants can turn into demons, but that's not true for all plants. Lu Chongqing chuckled lightly. Without dwelling on these details, he shifted his focus to the introduction of the luminous treasure tree in the system space. Spirit plant, luminous treasure tree. Rank: 3rd grade. Description: the luminous treasure tree, every 30 years, will condense luminous sweet dew from its roots. The dew, when used to wipe the eyes, can clarify vision and enhance the effectiveness of spiritual eye techniques and divine skills. Luminous treasure tree, luminous sweet dew, clarifies vision and enhances spiritual eye techniques and divine skills. Lu Chongqing, perusing the introduction of the luminous treasure tree in the system space, showed a pleased expression. In the cultivation world, naturally occurring treasures that could amplify a cultivator's personal abilities and enhance techniques and divine skills were exceedingly rare and precious. And for most cultivators, a talented eye was in high demand. For example, to inspect another person's cultivation level and strength, to navigate secret realms and formations, or to appraise treasures, one required capable spiritual eye techniques. This luminous treasure tree, capable of steadily producing luminous sweet dew beneficial to such techniques, could truly be called a money tree. However, this luminous treasure tree only condenses luminous sweet dew once every 30 years, which is too long a time. Moreover, such a 3rd-rank spirit plant would need to be planted at least on a 2nd-grade spirit vein. Although it is possible to plant it in Qingzhou Valley, the luminous treasure tree isn't like the golden armor bean mother, which you could just plant by digging a hole in the courtyard. It looks quite large and conspicuous. Lu Chongqing took a deep breath and exhaled, clearly recognizing the shortcomings of this spirit plant. In the long term, it was a money tree, a treasure tree of great value to a cultivation family. But personally, for the moment, it was quite useless to him. Well, I'll see later on whether I can plant it at the Lu family first. After all, such a spirit plant can be transplanted. It just requires a spiritual plant master during the process. Lu Chongqing did not extract the luminous treasure tree from the system space yet. He decided to wait until it needed planting to take it out. Chapter 360. The World Spirit Plant, the Luminous Treasure Tree. _4. Otherwise, I wouldn't even know how to arrange these extracts. As for the heaven and earth longevity technique he obtained, he didn't consider having his wives and children assimilate the heaven and earth spirit plants into life-bound spiritual roots for the time being. It wasn't that he was reluctant to part with this treasure tree. In the heaven and earth longevity technique, after the heaven and earth spirit plants are refined into life-bound spiritual roots, they continue to grow just as before. Even the cultivator could gain some of the mysterious divine skills of the heaven and earth spirit plants. But he even had to consider whether to plant it in the Lu family. How could he use this treasure tree just for his wife to cultivate the heaven and earth longevity technique? Dusk fell. Lu Chongqing arrived at Xiaofan's courtyard. After all, tomorrow he was to attend the auction with his 4 wives. Unable to accompany Xiaofan, he also had to trouble her to help with the auction. The next day, Lu Chongqing, accompanied by his 4 wives, along with Lu Yuanzhong, Lu Yuanding, and others, headed to the Red Leaf Valley auction venue. To enter the auction, there were naturally certain requirements. One either needed to have a certain status or verify their financial ability. But as one of the hosts, the Lu family naturally arranged a special VIP area. Brother Lu, it's a pleasure to meet all the sister-in-laws. Hong Yi also came to the Red Leaf Valley market to attend the auction. Upon seeing Lu Chongqing, he promptly went up to greet him, looking to get acquainted. Even though he had long known that Lu Changsheng's status in the Lu family was extraordinary, seeing Lu Chongqing walking together with several high-ranking members of the Lu family and his wives, he still couldn't help but feel emotional inside. He reminisced about the past when he, Lu Chongqing, and Li Feiyu failed to be selected by the immortal sex. Back then, he had felt a bit arrogant in his heart. He thought that Lu Chongqing and Li Feiyu could only go to cultivation families to be sons-in-law, while he could return home to cultivate. But now, Lu Chongqing had married the pearl of the Lu family as a son-in-law and become a high-level figure of the Lu family, leaving him looking up. Brother Hong, you're here too. Lu Chongqing smiled and nodded, briefly introducing him to his wives. However, Both Chu Zhenjin and Lu Miaoyun had met Hong Yi before. Only Lu Miaohuan had not met him. Although the second young lady's temperament had improved slightly, she was still indifferent to someone like Hong Yi, merely nodding lightly out of courtesy for Lu Changsheng's sake. Hong Yi didn't linger too much either. He simply came over to greet them and then quickly left. Daoist Yu, Daoist Bai, Daoist Zheng, Daoist Huang, Daoist Su. After entering the venue, Lu Yuanzhong chatted and greeted each person. Those who could be greeted by Lu Yuanzhong and engage in mutual conversation were naturally all Foundation establishment great cultivators. Facing this, Lu Chongqing did not mingle and instead took his wives to sit down in the Lu family's VIP booth. Such VIP booths not only had good positions, providing an unobstructed view of the entire auction, but there were also maids preparing spiritual tea and spirit fruits. Lu Chongqing also spotted Xiao Xie in the VIP seats far away. After all, as a Foundation establishment great cultivator, she was definitely provided a VIP seat at the auction. As for Hong Yi, he sat in the common seats below, with only a plain cushion, very simple. About half an hour passed. The seats in the auction venue were almost full. A young man dressed in azure vestment robes and a jade crown, with sword eyebrows and starry eyes, stepped up to the auction stage. Welcome, fellow Taoists, to the Red Leaf Valley Market. My name is Yu Ningjuan from the Yu family, and I am honored to host this auction. I also hope that everyone will be able to purchase their desired items. With a smile on his face, the young man bowed to the audience. His voice, warm and gentle yet clear, reached everyone's ears. Clearly, his cultivation was not mediocre, possessing the strength of qi refinement perfection. Father, why do I feel like this auction is completely dominated by the Yu family? Lu Miaohuan, seeing that the person hosting the auction was also from the Yu family, frowned slightly and said, "These past few days, as she wandered around the Red Leaf Valley Market, she could tell that whether it was patrolling or the auction itself, it was mostly handled by the Yu family." Hearing this, Lu Chongqing also looked towards Lu Yuanding. It was not just Lu Miaohuan who had this feeling. He had felt it for many years in the Red Leaf Valley Market. However, he had an inkling of the reason. Although this Red Leaf Valley Market is said to be hosted by our four major families, as you know, our Lu family only has elder Yuanzhong in residence. The Yu family, not only having two Foundation establishment ancestors but also being much stronger overall than our Lu family, so over these years, our Lu family has been losing its say in the Red Leaf Valley Market, explained Lu Yuanding with a sigh. Although the Lu family holds a 40% share in the Red Leaf Valley Market, the cultivation world ultimately operates on the principle that might is right. After the Lu family ancestor passed away, only Lu Yuanzhong was left to support the Lu family. So gradually, the say in the Red Leaf Valley Market fell into the hands of the Yu family. While the Bai family stands on the side of the Lu family, the Yu family is mainly competing for authoritative control, eroding the Lu family's interests. The Bai family not only doesn't suffer losses but even gains benefits from the Yu family. So even though everyone knows the danger of, when the lips are gone, the teeth will be cold, the Bai family was not likely to defend the Lu family's interests and step forward. After all, things had not reached that point yet. Although the Lu family benefited greatly from the annihilation of the Chen family in that battle, converting those advantages into strength also requires time. So now facing the Yu family, we can only give way. After all, Lu Yuanzhong has only broken through to Foundation establishment not long ago, while both of the Yu family's elders have been in Foundation establishment for many years. Lu Chongqing thought to himself, aware that the Lu family was developing steadily. But the situation was not that great. However, now that he too had reached Foundation establishment, should the Lu family really face a crisis, he would have the ability to lend a hand. Had it followed normal development, the overall strength of the Lu family would hardly surpass the Yu family. But if Lu Miaoge reached qi refinement perfection, Lu Chongsheng was 60 to 70% confident he could help his wife succeed in Foundation establishment. Once Lu Miaoge succeeded in Foundation establishment, the Lu family's overtly stable development would no longer be a problem, and surpassing the Yu family in the future would not be an issue. Chapter 361. True Yang 5-Element Sword, Everyone is a Robber Cultivator. _1. As Lu Chongqing lost himself in thought, the auction officially began. The first item up for auction at this auction is a breakthrough elixir. This breakthrough elixir is used for overcoming the mid-stage bottlenecks of energy refining cultivators and is suitable for practitioners of various cultivation techniques. Today we are auctioning off 10 pills, with starting bids at 100 lower-grade spirit stones each. A graceful maid walked up, carrying a tray, as Yu Ningjuan picked up a porcelain bottle to begin the introduction. Many present already knew the effects of this breakthrough elixir, but he still gave a very detailed introduction. He explained the ingredients, effects, circumstances, and even identified the alchemist who concocted it. And he did so smoothly and without awkwardness, with humor and wit. Breakthrough elixir. I didn't expect the first item to be a breakthrough elixir. I wonder if there will be any high-grade breakthrough elixirs later on. Many cultivators in the venue were excited, not expecting such good items from the start. Breakthrough elixirs like these are considered cure-all remedies. Practically every cultivator and family power has a need for them, for use by their younger generations. 110 spirit stones. 120. 150. Voices continuously called out bids. But these bidders were well aware not to exceed the market price. In no time, the 10 breakthrough elixirs were fiercely claimed. First-grade premium defense talisman, the Golden Light Bodyguard charm, can withstand the full-force strike of an energy-refining cultivator at the perfection stage. First-grade lifespan extension pill, capable of extending life by 5 to 10 years, although such pills from the same grade will only be effective with the first pill taken. White Spirit Jade Bird, a lower high-quality bloodline spirit bird, capable of traveling 3,000 miles a day, can automatically navigate back and forth, making it very convenient for sending messages. Golden Fufli Blade and its subsidiary blades, a matched set of advanced-level magic artifacts, with one main blade and 8 subsidiary blades. By simply holding the main blade, you can control the 8 subsidiary blades to attack opponents unexpectedly and with relentless sharpness. The auction proceeded in an orderly fashion. Since this was Red Leaf Valley Market's first auction, one could say that all these items were rare finds. However, Lu Chongqing didn't participate in the bidding throughout the event. For one thing, he wasn't interested in the items. And he also didn't want to reveal too much of his financial capacity. After all, in the eyes of the Lu family, he was simply a moonlighter when it came to income and expenses. Coming here with his wife this time was just to join in the excitement and broaden their horizons. Second-rank lower-grade talisman, the Thunderfire talisman, comparable to an attack from a Foundation Establishment great cultivator. As evaluated by our Yu family appraisers, these talismans are all premium talisman with almost 10 to 20% more power, starting at a bid of 300 spirit stones, and there are 10 in total. At that moment, the maid brought another auction item to the stage, and Yu Ningjuan introduced it aloud. Second-ranked talismans, and their premium talismans? It looks like the Yu, Lu, Bai, and Zhang families have all invested a lot in this auction. These premium talismans not only pack more punch, but are also ideal for talisman masters to copy, which might be worth acquiring one to take back. Many people in the crowd, hearing the introduction and looking at the talismans on stage, couldn't help but discuss and feel tempted. It's exceptionally challenging for ordinary cultivators to purchase advanced-level talismans. One must venture to a large marketplace to seek them out. And often, one needs to reserve and wait. Even more so for advanced-level talismans. Now with 10 second-ranked talismans up for auction, all being premium talismans, it naturally stirred interest. It looks like these talismans should fetch a nice price. Lu Chongqing, observing the notably more enthusiastic atmosphere in the room, couldn't help but grin. Knowing the 20 talismans he had Xiaofan auction should bring in a significant profit. 400 spirit stones. A bid was immediately placed by an energy-refining cultivator, adding 100 spirit stones right off the bat. Since the starting prices at the auction are always below market value to allow for bidding room, this cultivator clearly aimed to outbid others in one fell swoop to dissuade competition. But the rest weren't fools either. They knew that ordinary second-rank lower-grade talismans were priced just so, therefore the premium ones would naturally fetch a higher price. 410. 420. 450. In a short while, the bidding for that single talisman soared by half over the starting price. 470. 500. Lu Chongqing, watching the price rise, couldn't help but feel elated. He hadn't expected his second-rank talismans to be so popular. With these 20 talismans all auctioned off, he'd directly pocket 10,000 spirit stones. Sometimes making money can be that simple. 550. Just then, Lu Yuanding, sitting beside him, spoke up in an indifferent voice, stating a price. Father-in-law. Dad. Lu Chongqing and others turned to look at Lu Yuanding with some surprise. They didn't know why he suddenly placed a bid. The others at the venue, seeing Lu Yuanding bid, chose not to continue bidding. Aside from the price of 550 spirit stones already being quite high, they also didn't compete out of respect for the Lu family, since there were still 9 more to go. I've heard from the 4th elder that premium talismans are particularly well suited for talisman masters to practice copying. Chongsheng, Miaoga, you are both top-level talisman masters now. You can use this talisman for practice, which might help you advance to 2nd-grade talisman masters. Lu Yuanding chuckled and explained to Lu Chongsheng and Lu Miaoga. Usually, during this kind of auction, the 4 major families would try not to compete with others. But for his daughter and son-in-law, he had nonetheless spoken up and made a bid. And his final bid did not have the sense of intimidation. Thank you, father-in-law, for the generous gesture. Lu Chongqing, upon hearing this, had mixed feelings of amusement and gratitude. There's no need for thanks among family. Lu Yuanding waved his hand dismissively. After the first Thunderfire talisman was sold, the remaining 9 were successively auctioned off. Chapter 362. True Yang 5-element sword. Everyone is a robber cultivator. Each fetched a price of over 500 spirit stones. The last 2 even fetched the high price of nearly 600 spirit stones. These people probably had the same idea as Lu Yuanding, thinking of buying the talismans to copy, not for self-defense. If it were for self-defense, the price would seem unworthy. After auctioning off 10 Thunderfire talismans, Lu Changsheng's other 10 second-rank Vajra talismans were not immediately auctioned off. The auction items were not one better than the next, varying in quality to stir the atmosphere in the venue. Senior, here are the second-rank Thunderfire talismans you bid for. Before long, a law enforcement cultivator escorted a maid, delivering the talismans inside a talisman box to the VIP platform. Lu Yuanding had Lu Chongqing and Lu Miaoga check the talismans to make sure there were no problems, and then paid 550 spirit stones. Then he handed the talismans over to Lu Chongqing, telling the 2 of them to ponder over them often, to study the patterns and flows of spiritual power in them. They could also take them back to ask the 4th elder for guidance when the time came. Ladies and gentlemen, next up for auction are the high-level spiritual birds reared by the 100 Birds Lake by family. At this moment, Yu Ningjuan started to introduce several spiritual birds taken out from a spiritual pet bag. Seeing this, Lu Chongqing, who had been sitting leisurely, also took an interest. He had long wanted to replace his iron feather eagle with a flying mount. But he had no way to do so. The flying mounts available on the market, nearly all of them were about the level of the iron feather eagle, and were not significantly better. Although he had obtained an egg of the green jade luan bird, this thing was after all stolen goods. Who knew when it would hatch and grow big enough to serve as a mount? Purple-scaled eagle, middle-grade middle-stage bloodline with the strength of a first-grade middle-stage creature, whether for combat or as a flying mount, both make it a decent choice. Starting bid 300 spirit stones. Golden-crowned crane, middle-grade high-quality bloodline with the strength of a first-grade, middle-stage creature, starting bid 500 spirit stones. Black-winged eagle, high-rank low-quality bloodline with the strength of a first-grade, middle-stage peak creature, starting bid 1,000 spirit stones. Yu Ningjuan introduced the 3 types of birds. Father-in-law, are there any other flying spiritual birds coming up? Lu Chongqing, looking at the golden-crowned crane and black-winged eagle on the stage, inquired of Lu Yuanding. He remembered that some items for auction had been announced earlier in the venue. However, he had not looked closely. If there were no other fine spiritual birds later on, he thought the black-winged eagle seemed acceptable and could make do. There seems to be another black-winged eagle, later on, in the late 1st grade. Lu Yuanding replied upon hearing this. Then he turned to Lu Chongqing to inquire, "What, you want to buy a spiritual bird?" I often run back and forth, and I feel it would be more convenient to have a better flying mount. Lu Chongqing nodded and spoke truthfully. Chongqing, there's no need to waste money in this regard. The Iron Feather Eagle is already considered a decent flying mount. This golden-crowned crane and black-winged eagle, although faster than the Iron Feather Eagle, aren't significantly faster. It would not only be a waste of spirit stones, but the cost of upkeep is also much higher than that of the Iron Feather Eagle. Just for the sake of travel, it's not worth wasting this money. Lu Yuanding spoke out, persuading Lu Chongqing not to waste money. The Iron Feather Eagle was a flying mount the Lu family got through their cooperation with the Bai family. Not only was it affordable, but it was also good in terms of flying speed and daily expenses, making it the first choice for value for money. All right. Upon hearing this, Lu Chongqing thought it over and decided to give up on changing his flying mount. He disdained the Iron Feather Eagle, not for its slow speed but because every time it encountered an enemy, it would tremble with fear. Yet, given his own situation, the black-winged eagle would tremble just as much if he encountered a Foundation Establishment cultivator. If he ran into a minor Qi refinement practitioner, he could annihilate them single-handedly without needing to worry about his mount. It seems I need to go all out in one step. Otherwise, the late first-grade black-winged eagle doesn't mean much to me. And spending thousands of spirit stones on a flying mount would make me seem too extravagant. Lu Chongqing mused to himself. After watching the auction for so long, he also felt his usual spending seemed a bit high. Or rather, spirit stones came too easily to him, leading to a habit of spending lavishly. In this auction, items worth over 1,000 spirit stones were already considered very expensive. Many people might have just a few hundred spirit stones on them. The auction continued in an orderly manner. Talismans, elixir medicines, magic artifacts, spiritual beasts, secret techniques, cultivation legacies, and more all appeared. The remaining 10 second-rank talismans that Xiaofan had consigned were also auctioned during this time. But seeing that Lu Yuanding was ready to bid again, Lu Chongqing proactively made a bid himself. After all, as a talisman master, bidding for a talisman in such a situation was also justifiable. He also didn't have the heart to let Lu Yuanding spend more on his account. Over 500 spirit stones was not a small expense for Lu Yuanding either. As time ticked by, the auction finally came to a climax. Next, we come to the last and final highlight of this auction. I'm sure all the guests here have been eagerly awaiting this, Yu Ningjuan spoke solemnly, causing everyone in the venue to perk up. Many came just for these climax auction items. Soon, maids holding trays covered with red cloth appeared on stage. Our first climactic auction item is a Foundation Establishment spirit object, the Earth Fire Spiritual Liquid. Helpful for dealing with the mana barrier among the 3 obstacles of Foundation Establishment, especially for cultivators with a fire attribute technique. The starting price is 1,500 spirit stones. Yu Ningjuan lifted the red silk from the first tray, revealing a crystal-clear glass bottle on a white jade tray. Through the glass bottle, one could see a flowing red liquid inside. Foundation Establishment Spirit Object. Earth Fire Spiritual Liquid. Chapter 363. True Yang 5-Element Sword. Everyone is a robber cultivator. In the venue, countless pairs of eyes burned with desire as they gazed at the Foundation Establishment Spirit Object. Even the energy-refining cultivators who couldn't afford it were filled with longing as they looked at the object. After all, this was a spirit object related to Foundation Establishment. Foundation Establishment spirit objects, I wonder what price it will fetch, Lu Chongqing mused calmly to himself. The market price for a Foundation Establishment spirit object was between 2,000 to 3,000 spirit stones. But the final transaction price typically exceeded this amount. After all, such objects were considered cure-alls and highly sought after. Whether one was an energy-refining cultivator or a Foundation Establishment cultivator, a loose cultivator, or from a family power, there was demand. However, he wasn't interested. He still had 4 Foundation Establishment spirit objects on him, after all. 2,000 spirit stones. Those who could afford to bid for this item were no fools. Knowing what it meant to raise the bid by just 100 or 200 spirit stones, they directly bid 2,000, which also demonstrated their resolve. 2,100. 2,500. 2,800. Before long, the Foundation Establishment spirit object sold for the high price of 3,900 spirit stones. Although the price was inflated, Foundation Establishment spirit objects were, after all, hard to come by. Especially for those who cultivated fire attribute techniques, spending more spirit stones didn't matter. Second rank spirit pill. 3 Suns Elixir. This elixir medicine does not need much introduction from me. Named after the concept of 3 Yang heralding prosperity, consuming it ensures that all hidden illnesses and underlying issues vanish as if bathed in sunlight. It is therefore somewhat miraculous in assisting the progression from energy refining to foundation establishment. Yu Ningjuan lifted the red silk cloth and introduced the object, holding a glazed jade bottle. 3 Suns Elixir. Lu Chongqing noticed his wife, Lu Miaoga, looking at him with eyes full of tenderness. He chuckled softly without saying a word. In the end, the 3 Suns Elixir was sold at the price of 3,800 spirit stones. The same price that Lu Chongqing had paid when he purchased it at the Elixir Cauldron Pavilion. But this was to be expected. Buying elixir medicines from a place like the Elixir Cauldron Pavilion was intrinsically more expensive. And at an auction, unless faced with competition, the prices generally would not go much higher than the market value. One after another, the star auction items appeared. These items were mostly bid on by the powers of foundation establishment families or great foundation establishment cultivators. Ordinary energy refining loose cultivators simply didn't have the financial capacity to participate. Middle-grade spiritual artifact. True Yang 5-element sword. This is a meticulous work by Master Oji, forged from true Yang phoenix tree wood and 5 elements primordial gold, with the aid of 3 foundation establishment great cultivators, taking 7 days and nights for refinement, harnessing the power of the 5 elements of metal, wood, water, fire and earth, with a starting price of 3,000 spirit stones. At that moment, Yu Ningjuan unveiled the item by lifting the red silk cloth to reveal a cinnabar red sword with spiritual light flowing, and introduced it out loud. The true Yang 5-element sword. Combining the power of the 5 elements of metal, wood, water, fire, and earth? Lu Chongqing, who was appearing leisurely, narrowed his eyes slightly when he heard the description. Although he had cultivated the 7 luminaries heart lamp as his life-bound spiritual artifact, he still lacked a suitable spirit sword. But fabricating a well-suited spirit sword incorporating all 5 elements and both yin and yang was no easy task. He would have to seek out a second-rank artifact refining master for that. Currently, he didn't know any masters of that caliber, so he had put the matter aside for the time being. Although this true Yang 5-element sword doesn't incorporate both yin and yang, it's quite suitable for me, Lu Chongqing thought to himself, preparing to acquire the sword. It was true that a middle-grade spiritual artifact was usually mastered by cultivators in the middle stage of foundation establishment. But with the profound origin bead at his side, he was by no means weaker than those in the middle stage of foundation establishment. In fact, his mana was even more profound than many of them. However, in such a setting, it was inconvenient for him to bid, so he could only trouble Xiaofan. Given that his divine sense was a weak point and could be detected by others, Lu Chongqing opted not to transmit to Xiaofan via divine sense. Instead, he discreetly took out a transmission talisman belonging to Xiaofan. Xiaofan, who wasn't far away, looked perplexed upon receiving a message from Lu Chongqing. But, after seeing Lu Chongqing's glance and looking toward the auction stage, she quickly grasped his intention. 5,000 spirit stones. Xiaofan immediately called out her bid. If it were before, she would have worried about not having enough spirit stones. But with 22nd rank talismans from a previous auction, she had no concerns about having enough spirit stones. 5,500. 5,800. 6,000. 6,500. 7,000. When the bid reached 7,000, Xiaofan glanced at Lu Chongqing. The price of a middle-grade spiritual artifact was typically around 5 to 6,000 spirit stones. Although the true Yang 5-element sword, being an exceptional piece, would be a good deal more expensive, 7,000 spirit stones seemed about right. Continue, Lu Chongqing gave a slight nod, signaling Xiaofan to keep bidding. The sword was perfectly suitable for him, and he was not inclined to skimp on these spirit stones. There were a few foundation establishment cultivators bidding, but after crossing 7,000 spirit stones, only an imposing middle-aged man remained in competition with Xiaofan. However, when Xiaofan made a bid of 7,900 spirit stones, the great foundation establishment cultivator could only grimace and snort coldly as he gave up. When he snorted, he turned to look at Xiaofan. It was as if he wanted to see who had dared not to give him face. Lu Chongqing watched this scene intently, making a note of what the foundation establishment cultivator looked like. He wouldn't mind stepping out of the marketplace with Xiaofan to resolve any grievances with the man. After the middle-grade spiritual sword, an item of spiritual armor and a rare spirit pill were auctioned, and the auction came to an end. However, after the auction, the patriarch of the Yu family and Lu Yuanzhong took to the stage to announce that the venue was available for free trading among attendees. They even offered to provide private boxes or secret chambers to facilitate transactions. Lu Chongqing had no interest in this, nor was it convenient for him to participate. Moreover, the auction had lasted almost a day, and his 4 wives seemed somewhat tired. You're tuning in to the Xiaofan's Wuxia Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.